I now call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of May 9th, 2023. Please silence all electronic devices and mute your phones. We will proceed with public hearings, starting with ordinances. P56, continuance.
We have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the March 22nd edition of the 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Thank you. Sorry?
Need to have a motion.
Victoria's Pitos Planning and Development. Item P56 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-15 and sheet 15 from Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre, to Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre on approximately 39.12 acres of real property located west of Happy Hill Road, approximately 790 feet north of State Road 52, and an amendment to map 2-13 rural areas, removing the Hilltop Vistas parcels from the rural area, Area 1, providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for a repeal or reservability and an effective date. This is a continuance request to a date uncertain.
May I have a motion to continue P56?
Move.
Date certain?
Date
Move
certain?
date certain, March 22nd.
Date uncertain, okay.
Is that right? What is it, May 22nd?
No, it's
Date uncertain.
date
Date
uncertain.
Date uncertain, okay. Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Actually, we're supposed to do a roll call on that?
No,
No?
not for continuance.
Okay.
On P57, we have proof of publication in March 22nd, 2023, and by affidavit certifying mailouts and postings at the site.
Okay. And Terry?
Item P57 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-15 and sheet 22 from Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, to Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre on approximately 5.22 acres of real property located south of Wells Road and west of Curley Road, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repeal or severability and an effective date. And this is a continuance requested to a date uncertain.
Have a motion to continue for a time uncertain?
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item P58.
We have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the Tampa Bay Times editions of March 15th, 2023 and May 3rd, 2023.
Item P58 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, amending future land use map 2-15 and sheet 5 from Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, and EC Employment Center to IL Industrial Light on approximately 299.75 acres of real property located west of the Suncoast Parkway along Softwind Lane, approximately 1.5 miles north of State Road 52, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repeal or severability and effective date. And this is a request to continue to the May 23rd Board of County Commissioners meeting in Newport Richey at 1:30 p.m.
Okay. We have a motion to continue P58.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And now we'll go to item P59. We have proof.
Yes, sir. We have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the March 26th edition of the Tampa Bay Times and by affidavit of certified mailouts and postings at the site.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read the record. P59, an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-15 and sheet 23 from Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre, to commercial on approximately 2.11 acres of real property located on northeast corner of Paul Buckman Highway and Jerry Road, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date. And I have staff here present to make the presentation.
Good afternoon, Robert Irving with Planning and Development. So this is item PDD 230215, CPAS 2232, Terramore Buckman Highway Commercial. And this is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan oh, you already read this, sorry. So the property is located in the East Market area. As you can see, it's kind of like the southeasternmost quadrant of the county. The proposal is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from Res 1 to COM on approximately 2.11 acres. And it's located at the northeast intersection of Paul Buckman Highway and Jerry Road. The resolution is to amend the future land use, map 2-15 and sheet 23. And there is a accompanying rezoning in the name of rezoning petition number RZ 7693, Buckman Highway to rezone from AR Agricultural Residential District to C2 General Commercial. Here's the general project location. The existing future land use is all Res 1 to the north, east, and west, and to the south it's IL. Here's the proposed future land use, COM there. Here's the existing zoning, which is currently AR. It's also AR to the north and east, and AC to the west, and C2 to the south. I think it's important to note with this project that this project's directly abutting property owned through the county through the Environmental Land Acquisition Management Program. And in speaking with people from Natural Resources, this is going to serve as a preserve. It'll never be developed commercially, so this proposal will not proliferate or cause any strip commercial from here. These are the following policies that the Comprehensive Plan Amendment is consistent with. Policy Flu 1.6.4, Neighborhood Commercial. Policy Flu 1.8.7, Economic Development. Policy Flu 1.8.10, Preservation of Capacity for Employment Generating Uses. Policy Flu 1.6.3, Transitional Land Uses. And Policy Flu 8.1.4, East Market Area. And this comes with the recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopt by roll call vote. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience here to speak to item P59?
The only person signed up, I believe, is the representative, applicant representative.
Okay. Anyone on the queue?
None.
Okay. All right. With the closed public comment then. It's a pleasure of the board.
Move approval.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. And item P60, we have proof.
We have proof of publication in the March 1st, 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P60. Yeah. You want- Okay. The applicant is requesting if
10
the
minutes.
board would like to hear this item when the MPUD is heard together, either
Hear 'em
now
together?
or later, I suppose.
Okay.
However the board wants.
We'll want to hear them together at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This
So
would be-
what's that item?
P60 is related to P68.
Okay, so we'll wait till P68, we'll do them both together? Okay. All right, let's hold on that one.
And that would complete your ordinances.
You're going to have to take separate action, and you're going to have to allow the public time to speak on both. You can take them together if you wish, but
Should we just
with
take-
those caveats.
And they have to be sworn in for P68.
Yep.
Oh, we might as well hear it.
You want to roll them out now?
Let's hear them up. Let's hear them now.
Okay.
I would take up 60 and
Yeah,
then
take 60.
immediately follow it with its companion rezoning.
Okay.
Okay, so P60 first.
P60 first.
Okay, P60 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 15, from Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre, to Res 9, residential 9 dwelling units per gross acre, on approximately 20.2 acres of real property located at the southeast intersection of Hancock Road and Jesse Daniels Drive, within the villages of Pasadena Hills, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repeal or severability and an effective date. And we have staff to make the presentation.
Good afternoon. Amy Heiler with Long Range Planning. Today you're going to hear the adoption hearing for Handcart 20, being item PDD 23-0234, which is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment. Is that working? You guys got it? Okay, thanks. We can skip through this because Terry just read it into record. So the site property is located in the Central Market area. And it's also located within the unentitled area of the villages of Pasadena Hills. This is your existing future land use reflecting a Res 1. Next. And your proposed future land use of Res 9. Your existing zoning right now is AC. And this is the location map showing where it is generally in vicinity of the villages of Pasadena Hills. As you can see, this is located within the unentitled area of VOPH. It's just a closer visual for you. Figure PH6 is the future land use that was established or adopted within the village of Pasadena Hills. Again, as you can see, when this was created, it was a current existing Res 1 future land use. And I zoomed in so you can see. And the villages of Pasadena Hills in figure PH2 created a vision plan, land use vision plan. The reason why this is important is, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. As you can see a little bit, the coloration of this area is a mixture of a light yellow and a darker yellow. Basically what that means is the villages of Pasadena Hills Land Use Vision Plan envision this area to be considered neighborhood general and neighborhood edge. So within the VOPH plan, neighborhood edge allows for approximately 5 dwelling units per gross acre, and the neighborhood neighborhood general is 5 dwelling units, neighborhood edge is approximately 2 dwelling units. So even though the existing future land use is a Res 1, the vision for villages of Pasadena Hills envisioned it to be a bit more intense or dense than the existing future land use. Slide. And it's also important to note that this area is located adjacent to Handcart Road, which within the villages of Pasadena Hills is envisioned as a 4-lane roadway. Thank you. So with that being said, these are the following policies that are consistent with the proposed amendment. Policy FLU 6.1.1, Pasadena Hills Planning and Planning Principles, 6.1.2, Pasadena Hills Vision Plan Graphic, and 6.4.2, Context Sensitive Design. And with that, we recommend approval of the proposed comprehensive plan and adopt the ordinance by roll call vote. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for staff? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Let's hear from the applicant.
Good afternoon, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, 34652. Do we have any third parties signed up or on WebEx, Mr. Clerk?
None.
Okay.
In fact, we do not have any WebEx signed up.
Okay. Well, I had requested 10 minutes for each of these, but I really don't want to go on. It's really Christy Barrero from Height who's the presenter. But we have one presentation for both. I understand they got to take them separately, but so we don't go on for 10 minutes on each item. We're going to try to do 10 minutes to present everything to you. And then if there's additional questions, we get to the MPD item, we can certainly talk about that. That's kind of how I thought it makes sense to order, if that's okay with the board.
I'd say, yeah, do the first presentation, make it as comprehensive as you can, and then we'll,
Okay.
if it looks good, we'll call for public comment, so we'll take it from there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't mind you including the MPUD information in the comp plan.
Thank you very much.
If that's the question.
Our team is very lucky to have Christy Barrero of Height, one of the architects of this VOPH plan, on our team, and she's going to present to you. Thank you.
Good Good afternoon, Christy Barrero with Height Design. And we always think it's helpful to include some information about the MPUD with the comp plan because it gives you a little bit more detail, a little bit better understanding of why we want to change the future land use. And I believe staff's pulling up my presentation. Perfect. So the property is 2 parcels, 2 10-acre parcels for 20 acres total. We wanted to start off by letting you know we're requesting 144 townhomes, and that's 7.2 dwelling units per acre. So to get to that 144 townhomes, we're requesting a comprehensive plan amendment from Residential 1 to Res 9, which Amy just talked to you about. And that request was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning and Policy Committee and the LPA the last couple of months. And then we're also requesting companion zoning from AC to MPUD. The VOPH Planning and Policy Committee also heard that item, and they recommended unanimous approval of that as well. So Amy went over a little bit of the history of VOPH, just to get you oriented. We are just south of Village J. So we are outside of the 13 villages. We're also outside of the countryside area, outside of any rural enclaves. But we are in between 2 excluded properties. And those are the areas in gray that are shown on the screen here. Those are MPUDs that were approved before VOPH area plan was approved in 2008. So that includes Watergrass, Oak Creek, and Chapel Creek. So there's a very narrow area between Watergrass and Chapel Creek that did not have an approved zoning, and this property is in that area. That's one of the reasons the property wasn't included in one of the 13 villages. You can see that Village J is just to the north of it, as well as Village G, D, and C, which are all type 2A or type 1 villages. So those are the most dense and intense village types in Pasadena Hills, with very limited neighborhood edge, which is the 2 units per acre. So the higher density of 5 units per acre and the 10 units per acre in the general and the core would most likely be along the 4-lane handcart road or any of the east-west roads that are bisecting these villages. Here you can see the master roadway plan. As Amy mentioned, handcart road is shown in blue here. It's planned to be a 4-lane divided road in the future. Overpass road is shown in orange. That will be a 6-lane divided road in the future. And to the south of us, Zephyr Hills Bypass will also be an east-west road that will be 4-lane divided. So this is a graphic of what handcart as well as Zephyr Hills Bypass will look like in the future. Again, 4 lanes with a 12-foot multi-use path on one side and an 18-foot multi-use path on the other side. The plan is that the 18-foot multi-use path would go on the east side of the road, the side that our property is on. On the east side is a 100-acre property that the school board currently owns that has not been built on yet, as well as a 300-acre super park farther to the north. Just to zoom in a little bit, to see our project, again, the red star. In addition to handcart, overpass, and Zephyr Hills Bypass, we also have 2 purple roads. One is just to the east of the property, that's a north-south road. And then one is to the north of us, it's an east-west road. That east-west road will be an extension of Old Bridge Road that's currently constructed and ends at Handcart today. The plan is for it to continue east of Handcart and farther west through VOPH as a parallel reliever to Overpass Road. So there is a good roadway network surrounding this property. Even though it's not in a village, this area was planned for future development. And this is what those purple roads are going to look like. It's 2 lanes, 2 11-foot travel lanes for vehicles, as well as 6-foot multi-use lanes on either side, and 8-foot multi-use paths on either side. So again, lots of roads, lots of development that will be occurring in this area in the future. And then again, to orient you to the site, this is on the right-hand side, the existing zoning designations. You see a lot of yellow, which is the MPUDs. To the south of our site, you see some pink colors, which is commercial. That's 80 acres of C2 commercial at the intersection of Handcart and Island. This will also be the intersection of the future Zephyr Hills Bypass. That will be a major intersection just less than a mile south of us. And less than a mile north of us will be the intersection of Overpass and Handcart Road, which will be the village core of Village J. So that will also have non-residential development. Again, with that multi-use path on our side of the road, it'll be easy access for our residents to get to any retail uses. And then we wanted to go into a little bit of detail about the zoning plan. This is our plan here. Again, 20 acres. There is a wetland that bisects the property. We are showing a 15-foot perimeter buffer surrounding the property. It'll be a type B buffer on the north, east, and southern sides, and then a 15-foot type D buffer adjacent to Handcart Road. We're also dedicating 21 feet of right-of-way for the future expansion of Handcart Road. We're showing the main entrance point will be on the northern property line at Jesse Daniels Road. Currently, there's a 20-foot right-of-way easement there. We'll be expanding that road to our entrance point. And then we're showing access to the east and south and a secondary emergency access farther south on Handcart Road. So just to quickly summarize, we're requesting residential 9 future land use on 20 acres with a companion MPUD for 144 townhomes. So again, that MPUD will cap the number of units at 144, capping the density at 7.2 units per acre. We did receive a recommendation of approval from the last 2 boards. And we feel that higher density is appropriate on Handcart because it will be adjacent to the future 4-lane divided road with multi-purpose paths. It is also, Handcart also has the type 1 and type 2A villages just north of here. And there is support retail less than a mile in either direction, or there is planned to have support retail. Additionally, this is one of the few places in Pasadena Hills where there currently is water and sewer. It is on the west side of Handcart Road, adjacent to our property. We feel that townhomes are compatible to the surrounding development that has been approved as well as constructed. And we will be paying VOPH development surcharges. So in addition to the county standard mobility and impact fees, we'll also be paying the required VOPA surcharges. And that includes almost $1 million in mobility fees, which will go to paying for these roads that are planned and shown in the master roadway plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time, or we can wait till staff gives their presentation on the zoning.
Okay. Any questions to the applicant?
I don't have any questions, but we have public going to speak, or nobody signed up?
I'll check on that, but does anyone have any questions first?
I think my questions are, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. My comments are going to be on
The zoning.
the zoning, just, rear loaded, front loaded, all those kind of things.
Any other questions? Okay. Let me call for public comment. Anyone here from the public to speak to P60? Anyone on queue?
No, sir.
Okay. Pleasure of the board. Do you want to vote on this amendment now, or do you want to hear the MPUD first?
No,
Well,
I'll
we're
move
pretty
to
much done.
approve.
Move to approve. And call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Wigman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, now we're going to move to
68.
68.
if you want to do the full public hearing,
Public.
swearing in and all.
That was the last time.
Yeah.
Public hearing.
You might
So
as
public
well-
hearing, so county
might
attorney
as
will
well
read
do that
procedures.
first.
Sure.
There are 2 rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request that a petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you have been sworn. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code. Mr.
Okay.
Clerk, do you want to swear them in?
At this time, anyone who is intending on presenting information on these items, please rise.
Any public speaking that's going to happen as well?
If you intend
That's
on...
all the rezoning agendas on the agenda.
If you intend or think you might, please stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give is the truth, so help you God? I do. And when you come forward to make a presentation, please acknowledge that you have accepted this oath. Thank you.
Okay. Pleasure of the board. You want to go right to P68?
Yeah.
Okay. P68.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Chair.
have proof of publication of this item in the March 1st, 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P68 is known as Handcart 20. It's PDD 237682. Handcart 20, Villages of Pasadena Hills, MPUD, Timothy and Stacy Polsky. A rezoning request from AC Agricultural District to MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow for a maximum of 144 dwelling units on approximately 20 acres. As we noted previously in the prior presentations, it is located in the Villages of Pasadena Hills, north and west of Zephyr Hills, designated by the red star. Here it is located within the Pasadena Hills area plan boundary, which is located to the south along Handcart 20. It's south of the intersection of Old Bridge and Handcart. Here are the two parcels that you just heard about in the comprehensive plan amendment case at Handcart and Jesse Daniels Drive. And here is the subject property in terms of its existing zoning with AC, and it'll be rezoned to MPUD as was noted. And here's, again, the parcel as it relates to certain future land uses. And as it was mentioned in the previous presentations, this is a zoning that will cap the density to approximately 7.2 dwelling units per acre, which is just 2 dwelling units more than what the Villages of Pasadena Hills vision plan was looking for the area. I've already mentioned what the project is. This is the master plan to the master plan unit development zoning district. Won't go too much into it, but you can see the numerous interconnections that are proposed to this site with the emergency access point located south on Handcart here, and the main access point located here at Jesse Daniels.
What, can I ask you, sorry.
Mr. Starkey.
I didn't realize that was an emergency access. Can you go back to that?
Yeah.
How many units are going in here?
144 maximum.
So, why wouldn't we just have 2? Is this gated?
I'm not certain if it's gated necessarily. No, it's not being gated. The number of connections are proposed. It's going to have the necessary stub outs to the north, east, and south to enable the network that we'll be looking for. This is
Okay.
one of the first projects in the area.
Before you go, though, I
I just
agree
didn't
that,
understand that one was gated. That just,
so it is gated or not gated?
No, it's
no,
not.
I mean, that it was emergency access only.
On the south. Sorry.
I don't understand why we would limit that to emergency when it's all the same neighborhood.
It's on the same road.
Yeah,
Well, I think it has to do with, they'll change it.
okay.
They can make it a full.
Sorry. You're gonna have to
But-
put a road there. I mean, why not make it easy for the folks living there.
Yeah, but one thing to recall from the previous presentation is that there are a lot of vision roads that are crisscrossing this area. And so by providing interconnections on the north, east, and south, you are enabling a future network to plug into those.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't even know if you needed that other one, but if you're gonna have another one, why would it have been emergency only? That's kind of where I am. I have other questions, but I'll wait till you're done.
In terms of, there are some variations that are requested, minor though they be, with the handcart 20 MPUD. This one, section 8056, residential parcels under single ownership and not platted, as separate lots be exempt from included in an HOA or CDD, mainly because there's usually HOAs or property owner groups that are associated with it. And then in terms of section 907(1)E, it's to reduce on-site parking ratio for multifamily to a minimum of 1.9 spaces per unit, which is a typical reduction often issued to townhouse projects and other multifamily.
If I could stop you there?
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with reducing this.
Okay, I never heard this in my presentation either. Why would people not be required to be in the HOA? Is that what that's saying?
If it's not platted. So if it is platted, so most townhouse projects are fee simple projects that do get platted, and they are in HOAs.
So in other words, if all of the units are in one common ownership.
So if
and
it's a
they're
rental.
out- And they're,
Correct, yeah.
basically,
make it
they'd
a-
be rental,
A
yes.
rental.
I don't know what your presentation you heard, but I was unaware it was going to be a
I didn't hear
rental
that
community
either.
either.
I didn't get any of this in my presentation, so
I thought it was going to be
I'm
a fee
little
simple.
confused.
And again, back to section 2, which I was going to talk about, I'm not comfortable with shrinking down the parking spots either.
Well, 1.9, Mom, I'm okay.
But those questions are
But-
probably good for the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah. Except, I want to understand length of driveways, and I don't want anyone parking on the front lawn anymore. And
Well, let's
let's
continue
let
on.
you finish, yeah.
Well, that's a variation that's being requested. In terms of the analysis, the planning department is willing to allow the parcel owner to act as a responsible party for any maintenance or activities that normally would be the duty of the homeowners association or a community development district in an unplatted scenario. And then 907(1)E, the reduced parking ratio would decrease the area of asphalt, which would reduce heat, island, and impervious surfaces, improving stormwater management. It's a type of best practice to reduce parking when it's not necessary. And this parking ratio is above the 85th percentile of peak parking demand for the Institute of Traffic Engineers. Here are a number of other findings of fact. As I mentioned, there's the comprehensive plan case to increase the density from Res 1 to Res 9, but the actual increase is 5 to 7 because of the Villages of Pasadena Hills plan. On May 12, 1999, there was a special exception that was granted for golf school and driving range for both parcels. And then number 3, the handcart 20 MPUD has designated 3 different product types as T&D products. And these would be the single-family detached that are proposed within the MPUD townhomes and duplexes, all with rear and alley loaded lots. And number 4 is just a standard type of discussion item.
Okay, all right, I have a question on that.
Mr. Starkey?
Because in my meeting, and I'm just making sure that I'm hearing what he's saying, it said only the single-family detached will be rear-loaded, and the townhomes may or may not be rear-loaded, which is something I wanted to discuss with everybody. But here you're saying all of them are rear-loaded.
The T&D products. So this is part of an incentive that was built into this MPUD in the conditions of approval, that if you are a T&D product type, which would be the rear-loaded or alley-loaded product, you would be able to benefit by partaking of that incentive. So there may be products that do not pick up the incentive that may be front-loaded, and they would not receive that incentive. But if you are a T&D product, and so it's basically an incentive to build the rear-loaded products that we desire.
Terry, with the shape of this lot, in the wetland running through it, how do you think that works for a rear-loaded project?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
With the shape of the lot,
Yes.
how do you, in the wetland that runs through it, how do you think that works for a rear-loaded lot?
I think the applicant could probably speak to it much better than
Okay.
me, but some of the conceptuals that I have seen is most of the rear-loaded product is located interior to the site, and wetlands were not really a preclusion to to products being rear-loaded. Where you'll probably see front-loaded product is any kind of any kind of product that's located on the perimeter of the property.
Okay.
Yeah. The proposed request is consistent with the Pasco County Land Development Code, Chapter 400, subsection 402.2, zoning amendment and PUD, master plan unit development, and as we noted, with the provisions of the comprehensive plan. And so this comes forward from the planning department with the recommendation of approval, with conditions. And I should mention too, there was a last-minute update to the conditions of approval. Condition number 5, under open space and buffering, a provision was added to increase the fence height that would be required along Jesse Daniels Drive. So what the condition is talking about is prior to the final building inspection for the first dwelling unit, a type B landscape buffer shall be required to be installed in the northern, eastern, and southern boundaries of the project as depicted on the master plan, and shall include a 6-foot opaque fence with the exception of the area along Jesse Daniels Drive, which shall include an 8-foot opaque fence. So that's the adjustment that was made prior to the board meeting.
Just prior?
Yeah.
All right, any is that your end of your presentation?
That would be the
All
conclusion.
right, any other questions for staff at this point?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I
Mr.
just want to
Stacker.
know, is there like a minimum for front-loaded townhomes that would be, say, on the edge? Is there a minimum driveway requirement? Or if you have one side of the street being front-loaded and the other side of the street being rear-loaded, you can have street parking all along the rear-loaded side, like parallel street parking. But I'm just checking on the length of the driveway. Because I just went through a townhome project that has 10-foot driveways. Yeah, it's not good. One car sticking out of the sidewalk.
All right. Go ahead from the applicant.
That might be a question that the applicant can better describe. I'm filling in for staff today, so I don't know the exact details related to that, but we'll let the applicant speak to it.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, for the applicant. A couple things. With regard to the emergency access, got a whisper from Steve Henry that there might be a turn lane right there, so we can make it, we'll make it full access subject to permitting, and if not, it'll be emergency access, because it's ultimately, we're fine with it being full access if we can permit it that way. The change regarding the fence, we did work with our neighbors. We had neighbors at Planning Commission, and those changes, we're working with the neighbors. We were contacted by a neighbor last week, worked with that neighbor to the north, and that's the change you saw regarding fencing, and that's why it was not in your agenda packets, because we continue to work with our neighbors up through last week. With regard to the multifamily confusion, and this is my fault, townhomes are multifamily, so when we do these MPUDs, we write them to include townhomes, and then not just, and I didn't restrict it to platted townhomes only. So if that's the pleasure of the board, you want us to restrict it to platted townhomes only, you can include that in your motion, and we can make the conditions reflect that. It's just a confusion of multifamily, including both townhomes and other multifamily products that are singly owned. So the way to fix that, as you all been discussing, is to make a plat, so that there isn't that confusion that it can be all rentals. So I'm happy to fix that. With regard to the townhome standards, the commissioner's asking about what are our driveway lengths. Our driveway lengths in here are 20. We have a specific condition, number 46. Let me read that to you. Our multifamily shall be subject to any LDC amendments or BOCC adopted policy setting forth architectural design and monotony standards adopted subsequent to the approval of the Handcart 20 MPUD and prior to preliminary development plan, construction plan submittal. So we recognize your concerns about townhomes and parking and driveway length, but it's really difficult to do that, to solve that on a project-by-project basis. So what we did is we said this project will be subject to whatever standards you come up with. We're happy to participate in those. The better way to do that is the way that you've been doing it, which is by policy direction of the board that applies to everybody. So we suggested this condition and put it in our conditions of approval. So we will be subject to whatever policy you end up putting together for townhomes. You'll be subject to that policy. So if you decide that driveway should be 23 feet instead of 20 feet, if you decide there needs to be specific dedicated visitor parking, we'll be subject to that. It's just hard to do it on a project-by-project basis, so that's why we keep up with the condition.
Mr. Starkey?
Oh,
Do
let
you want to
Mr.
let-
Upton
want to
go
let her-
up because I have sent you 2 photos I'd like you to put up. Please, Mr.
Do
Carpenter.
you want her to present first, though, or you want to keep doing Q&A?
Well, I'm just curious about how you have 1.9 spots for cars when.
Right, so that's if you did an unplatted project. That's what that says. And what I'm saying is, when we'll remove those variations because you gotta remember you guys are moving pretty quick on us as far as what you want to see and don't want to see in Pasco, and I'm trying to keep up. And I'm trying to lead, not only just keep up. But so we have in there right now the ability to do platted or unplatted. If it's the pleasure of the board that we restrict this project to platted, which is with the policy you just passed last time to say we want to see single family platted, you don't want to, so if you want us to restrict this to platted, that variation will go away and it will be platted townhomes that have the parking standard in your code, which at the moment is 2.25, including, you get to include the garage, but you are working on townhome standards that may require additional parking. So right now allows unplatted product. We can solve that by requiring only platted product if that's the pleasure of the board. Like I say, I'm trying to keep up, but also keep these projects moving forward, and so my clients aren't out of contract and lose their projects.
So these units have a single car garage?
If we do platted, that's correct. They will have a garage, whether it's 1 car or 2 car. Front end, we can do front or rear loaded. What we did do is, again, we heard the board talk about VOPH, and we heard you talk about wanting to see rear loaded. So we did a couple things in regard to that. One is, we said any of our single family has to be rear loaded. So if we have single family detached product, it has to be rear loaded. So, and then we just said for your townhome product, the issue was VOPH doesn't require TND or rear loaded. So we worked with your staff, we had a meeting, they called us into a meeting right after the board discussed the fact that we'd like to see rear loaded product in VOPH. VOPH doesn't require rear loaded product, but how can we incentivize that? So one, we have the standards built in for either front loaded or rear loaded for townhomes. Single family detached homes, only rear loaded. And then we have incentive provisions to try to incentivize the rear load townhomes. So that's how we built this project and the approval paperwork for this project.
Okay.
Mr. Starkey?
Before they switch to my picture, I want you to notice that we have 2 neighborhoods that don't connect, right there on the left. And so they all have to go out onto the arterial road to get anywhere. That's not a good system.
This project,
Yeah.
no
yours is
variation
different.
interconnection, we get it, we absolutely hear what you're saying. We never requested a variation to interconnection north, east, or south. We'll have the interconnections.
That's just a really
We
bad
understand that this is the
development
first
plan.
piece in this area, and so even more so interconnectivity is important.
Okay, where's my picture? I have 2. So I'm looking at here on the trees, and I know that in the past, our utilities department has been requiring a 10-foot easement in the front, and so our builders were having a really hard time putting street trees in. And is there something going on? Okay. But Mr. Carball and I had a discussion, and as I was just in Bentonville, and I took some photos of how all their utilities are under the sidewalk, and they were doing street trees everywhere. So I'm looking at your language here. It says 2 trees per 4 townhomes.
So this is your language.
Yeah.
It's taken directly from the board's policy adopted in
Right.
2022.
So I'm just not sure that's enough for us. And if the board, if our utility department is willing to shrink that requirement to stay, I think it's 10 feet, have a 10-foot don't touch it zone, can we get more street trees in? Where's my picture?
So while the picture's loading, commissioners, I know you want to do standards for townhomes. I want to do them too. But they
I'm not
haven't
talking
been
about the townhome front yard, I'm talking about along the street.
all the above. I know you want to change your standards that you did last spring in 2022, before we had some new commissioners on the board. This project will be subject to whatever you come up with. We just can't do this from the dais project by project. It's very difficult. But my project will be subject to whatever we come up with. I'm all in, I hear you. I just can't do this project by project. I'm doing the best I can to both make sure you have the quality you want, but also not kill all these projects.
And I will say, it's going to be a struggle to change where utilities go and work with utilities on the dais as well.
Yeah, but just, before we were requiring 10, and I really think we can just shrink that to 5, yeah.
Commissioner Waitman.
Commissioner, I was trying to get some clarity on what we're looking at.
Oh, these are townhomes in my district.
On my picture.
Oh, okay, so this isn't, okay.
These
That's
are
her.
this is a townhome product in my district.
It's on the screen now. Now, what is it about this you want to talk about?
I want some street trees, and right now maybe we can't do it here, but if we can work with our own county to say it's okay to put a street tree in, we had this
So I don't want
conversation.
to confuse issues here. I think the
Yeah.
easements that we're talking about are probably soft utility easements, which
Yes.
are on every lot, and those are for soft utilities. Typically, utilities for water and wastewater are located in the right-of-way, which would be from the property line to property line, right, the right-of-way. Is there sometimes an aversion to putting trees over utility lines? Yes. Does that mean that we can't work on that? We certainly can work with that. There's probably certain pieces of infrastructure where they don't want a tree. So, for example, where a sewer lateral trunk line is, probably not, but there's ways to work with that. We're not averse to putting water lines under sidewalks and those types of things, whether or not that makes room. This picture here looks like a lot of driveways to me.
Well, you were there with me when we went to look at the.
Correct, rather
Yeah.
than trees. So rather than utilities, I would say that if there are utilities there, they're probably under concrete. But that can be worked on. I don't know if this is really related. I think there's just a couple of issues. Your issue is related to street
Well,
trees.
we'll
How do we get more trees on the streets for these types of products? And I'd let
Yeah.
the private sector tell me how we make that work, because
I don't want to be in the way, I don't want the county to be in the way of the street trees. I think we can make that happen and work better with the development community. So we don't have this.
Let's carry on with the presentation,
Yeah.
we'll get to more questions at the end.
We can, we just have one presentation, so you've seen it from Ms. Barrero. Things I would add to her was just the things that we did relative to the neighbors, the fencing, the size of the fencing. We actually added an improvement to where Jesse Daniels meets Handcart Road. We added an improvement over the top of what's required, because we worked with our neighbors. Other than that, we didn't have anything other than the presentation that Ms. Barrero
Okay.
presented.
All right, Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilhite. Thank you to
Take that sentence out.
your client. I appreciate y'all willing to work on the aesthetics and the green space issue. I'm comfortable with this project if this board goes along to having the condition of it being fee simple and platted. That's my biggest concern, and I'd support this item with the recommendations of Ms. Wilhite, fee simple and platted on these town
So I'll say with the townhome projects, again, I've commented on my daughter's up in Orlando, no parking, et cetera. They were a single car driveway with a garage, and that was it for parking. Good luck if you find a spot. I can't see cutting that back, because that would even be less, I mean, would just be a disaster trying to find parking. So right now, you're saying the way this townhome project's designed, there's two parking spots, but one's in the garage and one's in the driveway.
So your code requires 2.25 parking spaces per townhome, but and you calculate that project-wide, and you come up with a number, but you get credit for your spots in the garage. And so I think that's, as you look to establish townhome standards, you probably want to look to do dedicated visitor spacing outside of the driveways, so that you have to meet because right now, the projects are meeting 2.25, and you're not seeing any difference. You're not seeing visitor spacing. You're concerned about the parking that you're seeing, period. So I think what you have to do is when you go to establish standards, you need to establish dedicated visitor spaces that are outside the driveway.
But let me ask this question. With what you're saying, the way you're setting these parking spots up, why would you even need to go to 1.9? Why wouldn't it be automatically 2 when you've got a driveway and a parking spot?
All that confusion, and I really apologize for that, is because of platted versus unplatted. We are now in the realm, that variation is gone. That has to do with unplatted product. We are only talking about platted product. Has nothing to do with that variation.
So that variation, so we're going to take up number 2, that variation is gone.
That's correct.
And we're going to have it in there where it's going to be platted.
That's correct. And
it's
the
going to be
variation number 1
simple.
can go, both those variations you saw can go away with just that one change, like you did in your policy a couple weeks ago, making these things platted. So that's what we've committed to do. And our parking will be code 2.25 spaces per unit, 2 spaces, 0.25 for visitor, until you change your policy, which you need to work on, we're willing to work on, and help the effort. We're really, need others to help with that effort as well. When you change your policy, we'll be subject to whatever your new policy is. If you want dedicated visitor spacing, and that's what's in your new policy, that's what this project will be subject to. We need to do those discussions in the realm of that policy making as opposed to project by project.
How much time do we have before we'd have to put that policy in place?
This condition's written that we can't submit our construction plans. Well, it says we have to comply with whatever you come up with if it's adopted prior to our preliminary plan submittal. That's what it says.
Like how much time do we have?
Yeah, I know. I don't submit plans, so I'm not sure. I don't think we have anybody specifically preparing plans at this time.
Okay.
No, we have no plans being submitted at this time.
All right, we'll hold that thought for a minute. Commissioner Starkey.
I have a couple questions on number 8. It says, I'll give you a second there. Let me find my, if the developer builder is unable to provide the appropriate number of trees on the platted lot due to easements or other constraints as determined by the county administrator or designee, then you can plant trees in the common areas. What would be a reason why you couldn't put a tree in front of someone's house?
This is a county standard condition, so maybe Brad Tippin?
'Cause I just
somebody
assumed take that
Somebody that
out
implements this condition might be able to answer that.
Okay.
This is a standard condition.
And then my other question is, each front-loaded townhome block, group of attached units with 4 or fewer units shall have a minimum of 2 trees in the front yard. Is that 2 trees in front of the 4? Or 2 trees in front of, that's not 2 trees in front of each townhouse, is it?
No, it's written to say for a block of 4 units, townhome units, a block of 4 units side by side, there has to be 2 trees. Here's the person that implements
Okay.
these conditions, so let me have him answer your questions. Thank you.
All right, so the...
Just give me a name.
question-
Just give me a name for the record.
For the record.
I'm sorry, Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. To answer the most recent question, as far as the blocks and having 2 trees there, typically that is a driveway issue. They will move driveways near each other, and then that leaves a certain amount of space where you can put trees, and then the distance that trees are supposed to be planted apart from each other kind of creates that limitation there. So you have driveways, we merge the driveways together to the extent that we can to create enough space for trees, and you can usually only get a certain number of trees in there. It's 2 for a 4-unit building, and I think it's 3 for a 5 or a 6. But the other questions you had was what types of scenarios, constraints might result in moving those trees. There's electrical systems and different types of units that sometimes need to be in certain locations for buildings, that if that space is limited, you can move that or change the type of tree or move that tree to an area just on the side of the building, in the near area.
Brad, what's the length of
Wow.
a current driveway?
I want to take that sentence out.
So driveways, we don't necessarily have a required length for a driveway. It's a function of the actual setback of the garage. So in the design criteria that are in the MPUD, it tells you what the setback of the garage is. That's how long your driveway will be, from the property line to the edge of the garage, unless they choose to make it longer. Generally, it depends on the size of the unit. If they have a 4-bedroom unit, or a 4-bedroom house, then they're going to need 3.25 spaces, which they round up to 4, obviously, which means 2 cars in the garage, 2 cars in the driveway, which means they'll need a minimum 20-foot driveway. So that's typically how it ends up, the math.
From the pictures you saw from that project, is that pretty much how a lot of concrete gets poured in situations like that?
The picture that Commissioner Starkey put up?
Correct.
That's basically the minimum, yes. That's the most minimum standard that we have. When you get to driveways, you're also talking about flare. It creates some of that large concrete expanse across the front. But the right-of-way being from back of sidewalk to back of sidewalk.
Okay,
So, and I just want to make sure,
talk about this picture, because this is not something we're supposed to approve right here. This is, something happened wrong in this development.
well, I'm trying to get to like how this happened compared to how do we avoid it.
That's a good question. I'd like to know that.
So when I look at like this car here with the SUV in the picture, it's got just a little bit of room behind it. If someone's got a full-size truck, Suburban, they try to park in a smaller length driveway, they can be cut off. What's the length of a large truck?
So to use this picture and to put this in perspective, the edge of right-of-way is actually where you see those little green planter beds. Okay, so everything from those green planters to the right in that picture is right-of-way. So what happened here is all of that area where normally there would be some driveway flares and things of that nature, those were removed, and it was kept all as concrete. That was probably to improve parking, to increase some parking in some way. But when you look at where the SUV is parked, that is basically a 20-foot parking space. That's a 20-foot driveway probably from the edge of the line I was talking about up to the building front. That's probably the minimum 20-foot for the setback.
So is 20 foot the norm we have for a townhome project, or?
Generally, that's what they choose to do. It's, again, with the MPUDs, you set the actual setback requirements. So if the garage setback is more than 20 feet, you'll have a longer driveway. If it's 25 feet, then you'll have a 25-foot driveway.
Okay. Mr. Starkey.
And the garage setback is often different from the building setback itself.
So, I have all kinds of questions on how this possibly happened, but do we need to put something in that there needs to be green, how much green space between the curb and the sidewalk?
So yes, that is something that that's within the right-of-way essentially. It's a little bit different if it's private versus actual county right-of-way. There's all kinds of nuances there. But in general, yes, we can talk to that. This is not prohibited.
Well,
it's not what we would consider best practice, but it's also not prohibited. It's trading one thing for another. It's giving you some more parking and some of that at the expense of trees. It's unfortunately, it's not prohibited by the way our code is currently written.
I just wonder if when they did their calculations that they counted this much concrete, and so, I mean, they covered more than probably they said they were going to. So probably they needed another pond after doing that, but I need to prohibit this. And I don't want this, and if it's allowed right now, I'd like to put a condition in this and everything that comes in front of us that we can, but you can't ever do this again. So what does that look like? And this is what I'm talking about. If we have X amount of space between the curb and the sidewalk, you could put a row of trees in there.
Right, and we can
In
certainly.
addition to,
We can certainly do that, and I think we can do that, you know, similar to how we did the other issues with Terry, and we can work through that, come up with that. I don't think that's gonna be a situation that occurs with this particular project.
I need to put it in
So-
writing that they're not allowed to do this,
Okay.
right, guys? If you go drive through this, it's not a good thing that we approve this.
I had driven and actually looked at a really nice project, then just took a right turn to take a look at this one here. The comparison was just dramatic. So we can do it right, I just want to make sure we get it right. Commissioner Waitman?
That's Becky.
No, it's
This
not
is-
Bex.
This is the preserve.
So,
That's a different project.
yeah, thank you. So, what I'm hearing Ms. Woolhite say is that the changes that, I think based on this conversation, we need to bring back some policy opportunities, like in 2 weeks for town. We see these every board meeting. So I think consensus from this board, let's get something in double time here. But what I think I'm hearing Ms. Woolhite say is a condition that she can make immediately is fee simple and platted, and that whatever our policy memo is on townhomes, that they're willing to adopt into this plan.
That's correct.
If we accept, that's the concession that I'm hearing on the record today.
This is allowed today.
But she's making on the record,
She's making
On
another
the record.
condition.
concession
Just,
on the project, if we approve it today with the immediate being platted and, you know, these fee simple product, and then if we work, Carvalho, in an expeditious way to come up with what makes you comfortable, Commissioner Starkey and others here on townhome conditions in a policy memo, they're willing to accept. And I appreciate that very much. Instead of, I hope if there's any other townhome projects in here today that you're listening, that way we don't go through this again today. But I'm willing to accept on the record, and we can get something in writing. I hope, Ms. Woolhite, that to address Commissioner Starkey's concerns, and we can, you know, move forward here.
yes,
Commissioner
it's in a condition of
Hang
approval.
on, Commissioner Oakley?
So Ms. Willhite, when we looked at this project, we didn't talk about any of these links or any of the sidewalks. We discussed the whole project, and the project looked good, but actually, I sat there not knowing that the limit on these parking spaces and those tightness, I mean, a truck like I drive cannot fit in this parking space on the outside without interfering with the sidewalk. So that's a big issue.
Commissioner, and I absolutely recognize that. I'm standing here telling you I recognize it, and I wrote a condition to set your policy, we're gonna follow it. We gotta set a
All
policy.
right, but you
guys-
don't, and is it already in the conditions, or you're willing to
No,
put
no, I
that
already
as
wrote
a
it in.
condition?
It's brought to you here today. Condition 46 is sitting before you today. I didn't wait for you to ask me or wait to tell me that you're uncomfortable that we don't have any townhome standards. I got it. So I wrote condition 46 to say, we will comply with your policy. Yes, you've got to timely get a policy done, to Commissioner Waitman's, because we can't keep waiting forever, because we need to move projects
Right.
forward, we need to know what the standards are. So, but, yes, I'm all in, you know, to write standards, to do whatever I can, so I don't have to stand here and you all be disappointed, and I'm disappointed, and I gotta move projects forward. But I think this is the way to do it. One, making it platted, and two, having this condition that says we're gonna follow your policy. Now you gotta get your policy done. I'm all in for helping with that.
Okay.
You discuss it every meeting, I hear you. I'm all in to help with that, and we will be subject to that policy.
Okay, I
And
have
you
some
can
more
address
questions.
parking, and you can address driveway length, and you can address trees and greenscape, all those things, monotony. You can address all those things in a townhome standard. We just need to get one done so that you can feel comfortable, we know what the standards are.
Commissioner Starkey?
I don't think that we, maybe if Brad is saying that this is allowed today, then we have to put an additional sentence that you're gonna have some kind of grass in between the curb and the sidewalk. Is that right?
So, yeah, just to clarify.
Because that's not, I'm looking here, it's not in here anywhere.
I did get new information that this one was an alternative standard that was allowed that actually is a shorter driveway. That's a 16-foot driveway there, so that's.
Well, what
that's why
happened
this
to
one is
the,
different, but
so we have like we've got a horizontal driveway and a vertical driveway. I
So
mean-
our project is also not proposing this mountable curb that you see here, so you can't have the cars go up on the sidewalk. So there will be a curb in the road that they can't mount and use the sidewalk for a parking space.
Okay, so there will be grass between the curb and the sidewalk? I'm asking somebody
So we can use the standard.
if it's front-loaded.
The standard, you can require the standard driveway design with driveway flares. And that is essentially a small flare out to the end to assist with turn radius. But it does leave green space there.
I'm just trying to get a tree between that.
Yeah, and essentially that would stop the concrete from driveway to driveway like that, if you say to use a standard driveway design.
Okay, because I know Jordan and a bunch of people in this room worked hard together to find some kind of ways to soften improve the landscapes in the townhomes, but I just wondered if we missed some things. I'm also looking here, it says that a tree, a street tree within a townhome block may be a shade tree, an understory tree, or a palm tree. I thought it was 3-to-1. If you do a tree or 3 palm trees. So, and I'm not sure I want an understory tree in there. Understory trees, that's what everyone's cutting into a bush.
Condition 9C.
I gotta say, it's shade tree.
9C speaks to palm trees and the 3 trees.
Yeah, I would
So-
like to. Okay, it does say 3 palm service shade tree, but I want to take out understory. There's no reason to let them put an understory versus a tree. That's just an extra landscaping. I mean, yeah, we got to, guys, we got to take out an understory, which is like a big bush, and put in a shade tree.
Sure. Commissioner Waitman.
We're setting, and Chris Stark, I appreciate everything you're saying, but we can't set individual, this is policy making live here, right? And I think if we can get the customer, the client, Ms. White, they're willing to follow what we come up with. And so with them agreeing to that, then the onus is on us, the county, to, maybe we call it emergency workshop because we see these things so quickly. I don't know, but like within the next 4 weeks, set a policy in record time. That way we can really hash this out. And otherwise we'd be here forever, all day, every day. And I hope y'all can hear the sense of urgency. And Commissioner Starkey here, she's got leading the charge for us.
Absolutely,
supporting her and saying, hey, we need to move on this.
Absolutely, Commissioner. I do want to reiterate one thing, and I think I've mentioned this before, perhaps not here at the dais like this, but there is a time lag. We have done a number of improvements to our code to make these things better that physically are not on the ground yet, because it takes some time from the time it's changed.
Trouble has entered the room.
So, so he can now enter on that side where it's dangerous. But yeah, there is a time lag for that. So things like this may be adequately addressed by our new codes. Once those, you won't see something like that again, likely. So again, there is a little bit of a time lag, so I understand the sense of urgency, but we still don't have any on-the-ground examples of the new changes we've already made. So before we continue to tweak, we may want to kind of see that process through, review that process, make sure it's addressing everything.
But is it a lot of trouble to ask to put a tree in and not an understory tree? That's like seeing a whole row of ligustrum bushes versus a tree.
So
in a
let me
streetscape.
try something else. I am not trying to force something down on you all today. My client's not trying to do that. So we're supportive of new policies and complying with those policies. But the things that you've talked about, one is platted, 2 is we'll go with a 23-foot driveway. Again, you can change it in your policy, and we're subject to your policy. We'll remove the understory tree from that language, and we'll add that there must be green space green space between the back of curb and the sidewalk. Again, we want to listen to you. We're not trying to force something down.
Okay.
Barbara, I'm not
Yes?
I don't want to pile on, but on 46, the language you drafted, now that you're talking about it not it being platted, I
Yes,
think multifamily needs
Correct.
to be changed to residential.
correct. Yes.
All right, so with those changes, let's see if there's any public comment.
No one signed up other than the representative.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience want to speak to this item? Okay, we'll close public comment. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve with the conditions.
Second.
Do we need any further
With the
clarification?
conditions as amended at this meeting. I
Okay.
think that's,
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So back to P61.
This is showing as a continuance.
Yes.
Which one now? Where are we at here?
We have proof of publication of this item in the March 22nd, 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. P61 is PDD 23CU11 for Ace Cheval Inc. VBBTS LLC, T-Mobile South. The request is to continue the item to the 6/6/2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Do a motion.
I so moved to time certain.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now,
Could you clarify that date again? Something didn't ring true to me.
June 6,
June 6th.
2023,
Oh,
PCC, 1:30, Dade City.
Thank you.
And if you would indulge me, if I can move on to your addendum, which is AP 103. It's a withdrawn item, so I just want to get that taken care of if we could.
So what is the motion you need?
I'm just going to read it real quick into
Yeah.
record, just withdraw the item. It's AP 103, PDD 237642, I apologize. It's for Stonebridge MPUD. The item is withdrawn from consideration, so there's no further action required on that item.
Okay.
Which item is it?
It was an AP item on the
it's
agenda.
103 on your agenda.
AP 103.
Oh,
It has been withdrawn. So now we can do the consent agenda?
Yes, we'll do
Okay.
P62. Thank you.
Our first item, P62. P62, we have proof.
Yes, sir. We have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the March 22nd, 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Okay.
That's PDD 230270. It's a funding agreement for Two Rivers MPUD, Hickory Hills Land Company, and others. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the local planning agency.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to P62? Is anyone in the queue?
No, sir.
All right, we'll leave it on consent. P63.
Proof of publication, March 22nd, 2023 of Tampa Bay Times.
That's PDD 230288. It's a development agreement for Connerton Boulevard Development Agreement, Lennar Homes LLC. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the local planning agency.
Is anyone in opposition to item P63 in the audience? Seeing no one? Anyone in the queue?
Only the representative.
Okay. We'll leave it on consent. P64.
We have proof of publication, March 22nd, 2023 in the Tampa Bay Times.
PDD 230294 is P64 funding agreement, Winfield's MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, Schick and Dance Brothers, Hammock Pines, Pasco County Associates 1 LLP, and others. And comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the local planning agency.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition to P64? Anyone in the queue?
Only the representative.
Okay. Leave it on consent. P65.
Proof of publication, March 1st, 2023, Tampa Bay Times.
P65 is PDD 237627. This is a zoning amendment. under the name of Depew East MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Depew Ranch LLC, and others. This is a rezoning request from AC Agricultural District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow the development of a maximum of 2,300 residential dwelling units and 20,000 square feet of commercial on approximately 931 acres within the villages L and M in the villages of Pasadena Hills. There was a revision sent to you by Tammy Snyder on the 28th of April, which basically the applicant has withdrawn his request for any variations on this item. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee and the Planning and Development Department.
Okay. Anyone in opposition to P65 in the audience?
I do have a question on 63. I think it's an easy one, but I have a
Question on what?
Let me come back to that later. All right, so anyone on P65 in the queue?
I believe everyone signed up are representatives for the developer.
Okay. Item P66.
We have proof of publication, again, March 1st, 2023, Tampa Bay Times.
That's PDD 237645 is a zoning amendment under the name of McCabe MPUD Master Plan Unit Development. Cornelius and Elizabeth McCabe. It's for rezoning from an AC agricultural district to a mixed-use residential master plan unit development district to allow the development of a maximum of 470 residential units on 69 acres within Village B of the villages of Pasadena Hills. There was a modification sent to you on May 8th that provides some modifications to the master plan and the conditions of approval. Those were also provided to the clerk's office. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee and the Planning and Development Department.
Okay. Anyone in the audience in opposition to P66? Anyone on the queue?
None online, but I believe the only one signed up is a representative of the applicant.
Okay. And Commissioner Stark, you have a question on P63?
Yeah, it's the extension of Compton Boulevard. I just want to make sure there's a trail on that, because that's going to the,
Does it have a
that
trail
will
to
connect to the
point?
Orange Belt Trail on Aaron Cutoff.
Clark Hobby and Hobby PA, 109 Northwest Street, Tampa, Florida, have been sworn. I am confirmed with our engineer that there is a trail on it.
A multi-use path.
Multi-use path.
And how wide is it?
Jordan Trader, Clearview Land Design, 3010 West Azeel Street, Suite 150, Tampa, Florida. As part of the previously approved MPUD as a connectivity plan, that if memory serves me was a 15-foot multi-purpose on the south side that gets built with phase one, that was to allow for golf cart use as well as pedestrians,
Excellent.
and that matched that typology.
Okay, very good.
Okay. All right. And
that concludes the
Move
consent.
approval of the consent item.
Second.
all right, the motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll go to P67.
We have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the April 12th and April 19th edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Good afternoon. My name is Leanne McDonald with Real Property and Planning. The Real Property and Planning Division has received a petition to vacate platted right-of-ways, alleys, and lot lines filed by Tampa Electric Company, Maria Spoto, Joseph Spoto, and Nelson Spoto. The petitioner has requested the vacation to permit redevelopment of the site for a solar farm. There were no objections to this petition. The team recommends approval.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for staff? No questions for staff?
Okay.
We
So
have
public-
no one signed up.
No one signed up. Is a public hearing? Anyone in the audience here to speak? Anyone on queue?
No, sir.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I was aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now go to P69.
Proof of publication in the April 19th edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
William Devine, Planning and Development. Item P69. Before I begin, I have received ex partes from Commissioner Mariano, Commissioner Starkey, Commissioner Oakley, and Commissioner Waitman, which have been submitted to the clerk's office. I believe I will be receiving a ex parte from Commissioner Bradford's office, which will be provided to the clerk's office. Item P69, PDD 23-7687, in the name of Global Broker Group LLC and Alma Associates LLC. It's a rezoning amendment from AR Agricultural Residential District to a R4 High Density Residential District. The subject site is located on the south side of Tupper Road, approximately 360 feet east of Interstate 75. Here is an aerial view of the site. The future land use to the north, east, south, and west is all Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the north, east, and west is all AR. To the south, there is an MPUD, Wesley Point subdivision. This zoning amendment allowed for 155 single-family lots with lot widths of 36 feet wide. The subject site is currently undeveloped on approximately 2.61 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with a total of 8 single-family detached homes in conformance with the R4 high-density residential district standards for development. The surrounding area is characterized by residential and commercial development. Access to the property is from Tupper Road, a county-maintained local road with approximately 40 feet of right-of-way that varies. And the subject site has a future land use classification of Res 6 under the comprehensive plan. On February 2nd, 2023, Planning Commission made a recommendation for denial, citing several reasons. The proposed change is inconsistent with the existing land use patterns in the area. The proposed change will adversely affect living conditions to the immediate and surrounding neighbors. And the property does not have adequate access from a standard road. So this is coming with recommendation for approval from Planning Development Department and coming with a recommendation for denial from Planning Commission.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Well, just one thing. Is this road paved that's going into this property? Or going to be paved?
It is substandard, so we do have transportation folks that can talk to that. There are sections of the road that is unpaved.
Okay.
All right, is the applicant here?
Good afternoon, Commission. Jane Graham, attorney at Sunshine City Law. I have a presentation, and hopefully it is. Okay, and I'm here today with my client, Alma Associates. Mr. Anthony Marsh is here as well. So, yeah, good afternoon. So we're here for this Tupper Road change in zoning. Now, I want to make it clear that this is a quasi-judicial hearing today. Your decision must be based on competent, substantial evidence. It cannot be based on generalizations, conjecture, or opinions. The evidence shows that this request meets the Euclidean rezoning criteria. To give you some context, this property is located on the other side of I-75, north of State Road 54. The Grove and Crate Shopping Center is just on the other side of 75. The future land use is residential 6. And as you can see, let me see if I could do the pointer. Oh, I don't know. Well, the red star shows where it is, and it's really within the residential 6. It's not like right on the outskirts, it's there. A little bit north is residential 3, and then on the other side of 75, you have mixed use and you have some commercial and planned developments to the south. So as residential 6, there's the ability to develop up to a maximum density of 6 dwelling units. Here is a copy of the conceptual plan, which my client has provided. Now it shows that the lots are a variety of lot sizes. They're only asking for 8 units. They could potentially ask for up to 12, but they're just asking for 8. And the reason why this is 8 is they're looking for a gradual transition to the full density that's contemplated under residential 6. Now, this is more detail of the specifically proposed lot sizes. Lot 1 on the top is 77.5 by 110. You have a couple that are 65.110. Moving down, you'll see there's some irregularly shaped ones that are larger. And then going back up, there's a proposed stormwater management area and a larger area on the other side. So if you do a comparison of the surrounding subdivisions, this is really well within the range. Now, R4, which is the zoning district that we're asking for, that has a minimum lot of 60 by 100, 6,000 square feet. In this case, we're looking for a range, but the smallest is 7,150 square feet. Directly to the south is a MPUD, it's Wesley Point, 155 single-family homes, and those are only 3,650 square feet. A little bit over are the villages of Wesley Chapel, and those are 60 by 115, which is actually a little bit smaller than what we're asking for. It's 6,900 square feet. Now there's a proposal, which I won't go into in detail, which the Planning Commission had looked at, which is just down the road, and that does have a higher proposed density, but it's not really comparable, but just so that you have the information in front of you. Now, something to keep in mind is that even though we're asking for R4, there are also existing design limitations on site itself. For example, part of the land will have to be dedicated to the right-of-way. There's an interior street and cul-de-sac, which will substantially reduce the area available for developable lot creation, and stormwater retention will also reduce the area available. We have Dylan Alderman available, who is my client's architect, if there are any questions about this. As far as the specific design, he's done this analysis. So this is a larger picture of where this fits in with the lots. As you can see, there are a number of lots all around it. This is a close-up. This is an overlay. Oh, what happened there? Okay. There's an overlay of the conceptual plan. Oh, maybe there's a power outage. I don't know what's going on there. That is odd. But yeah, so you can see the size of the lots, especially lot 6 next to the smaller lots to the south. And this is the bigger picture of the overlay that shows, this is not just only an agricultural area. I mean, there's quite a bit of development in the existing area. This is a zoning map, which also shows that, there are MPUDs around. There is AR, but there are a number of MPUDs. There's actually a residential 4 a little bit south. There's residential 1, there's residential 2, there's commercial 2, MPUDs. This is not only an agricultural area. To give a little idea and personalization of the project, my client actually had a landscaping business up north, and he takes the landscaping very seriously. And just to give a little bit of an idea conceptually of what he'd like, he takes great pride, and he likes to have high quality in the type of products that he makes. This is a house that he actually built in St. Petersburg or refurbished, and so he likes to really look at the style. Now, a significant issue that you are going to hear and you need to talk about is the road. The access to the property is on Tupper Road. It's a county-maintained local road with approximately 40 feet right-of-way. Now, as far as the question of whose road is it, I refer you to Florida Statute 95-361, which says that after a certain amount of time where a county maintains a road, it is their property. At the Planning Commission, it had been previously testified that the peak hour trips were 6 or 8 trips, depending on AM or PM. Something else to take into account is that Tupper Road is a vision road, which envisions that there will be more growth in the area as well. It's going to connect 54 to 52. What my client is doing is he had been asked, this is going in the opposite direction. I don't know what's going on there. My client, jeez, this is not going in the right direction here.
Whoop, now you went.
I just, all right, let's apologize. All right. So just to close here, yeah, so this, oh, I apologize. Could I have 30 more seconds to finish up?
Okay.
All right, so yeah, so staff had requested a fair share payment for $61,000. This is a substandard road, but it doesn't trip the threshold for over 100 daily trips, so it's just a fair share payment that's needed. My client is happy to pay that. And as far as neighborhood compatibility, just again, my client wants to be a good neighbor. There are a number of these homes around. This is actually on Tupper Road, a little bit down. You can see that, it is agriculture on one side, on the north side, but on the south side there are lots of homes as well. Again, that's that. So in closing, this meets the rezoning criteria. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Road impact is minimal. My client is complying with the county's requirements as far as fair share payment. There are only 8 units. It's not, 100-something units. I mean, this is really has large lots. It seems like a no-brainer. There's actually a stretch of over 1,733 feet of single-family homes already along Tupper Road anyway on the south side. And so that's it. I would like to enter this presentation into the record, if I could.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you. And the
Pass.
one last thing is my client actually received an email from his neighbor, Mr. Ken Jacks. He's his neighbor to the east, and it was of support. I believe that it was sent to the commission, and I passed it on as well to Mr. Devine, but it came in late, so I just want to confirm that that would be able to be entered into the record as well.
We can make a motion on that too.
I move.
Move to receive the email.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to speak to item P69?
We have no one signed up or online.
Or online? Okay, we'll
Yeah,
close.
we do.
Oh, we do?
Do you wish to speak?
Please come forward. If anyone else is going to speak, please line up behind him.
May I ask, were you here when we administered the oath earlier?
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay.
sworn.
So with your name and address, just acknowledge that you took the oath.
My name is David McLaughlin. I live at 28841 Tupper Road. And obviously, as we're all aware, the Planning Commission recommended denial on this, and I think they really hit the accurate points within the rules that the county has set and the guidelines. But I think something that really needs to be noted is the density of Tupper Road. There are 12 homes on Tupper Road. One is not even completed or inhabited at this point. So if you break it down by acreage of addresses on Tupper Road, it's one house per 27 acres. Everything is AR. No one has any immediate plans that I'm aware of on Tupper Road to do any type of development. It's still active farmland. So as far as anything on the south end of Tupper Road that was discussed, there is an MPUD. It's been there since the mid-90s, completely isolated by a 6-foot masonry wall, and there's no access whatsoever to Tupper Road. It's completely independent. There's trees. It's a barrier. So I don't deny the existence of it, and whenever you look at the aerial map, you can see, okay, this property kind of catty corners this one, but it just doesn't fit the character of the area. So. And as far as the debate on who owns the road, I think that debate will continue because we have property owners on Tupper Road that bought within the last 2-3 years. Their surveys show that they own half of that road. So obviously if the survey was passed, the county's aware that they purchased the property, they own half the road. So I guess we can take that up at a later date, but that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to speak to the item? Maybe have staff come up and address the road issue?
Mr. Chairman, the road in question has, my and I'll let development staff, planning and development staff confirm this, but the road has been maintained by the county. It is shown on the road book. Under the statute that Ms. Graham pointed out, 95-361, we do not have to have a right-of-way map on file. It is sufficient enough that we have maintained it for the period of years that we have. So the county's position is that it is a county-maintained road. The level of maintenance is not great.
Okay. Any questions, staff? Commissioner Oakley?
I heard him say something about one house per 27 acres, but there's houses right next to this lot for these 8 homes. They're not on 27 acres. So, I mean, they're similar lot size, maybe even smaller lot size than some that he has on this project. So I just want to make that clear that it looked like it conformed to what's next door to it in that
Mr.
property.
Chairman, if I can.
Okay.
While the applicant's attorney correctly pointed out that this is R4 and it's Euclidean, she also represented that there was a conceptual plan and that this was an 8-unit project. That may be this property owner's intent, but once you rezone it to R4, that site plan isn't binding, that number of lots is not binding. So you are rezoning this to the R4 Euclidean category. There are, to my knowledge, no deed restrictions that would prohibit them or that would require them to make this an 8-unit subdivision.
Commissioner Waitman?
Thanks, Chair. Let's jump right in here. I'm opposed to this project here. Planning Commission voted it down. When you look at the neighborhood, and I've driven this neighborhood, we have several items coming up. It's very clear that Wesley Point project was not something we should be proud of in 35-foot lots. You drive in there, you think, man, how'd this happen? But in the existing, this project is at the very end of Tupper Road. It deads end. Tupper Road is a dirt road. It's clearly a substandard road. And when you look at the neighboring houses, everybody's sitting on an acre plus. Okay, every house is sitting on an acre plus, and then you're putting in, this project wants 8, but it could be more, 8 more units within there with a cul-de-sac. It's not conforming to the existing area, to the way the folks that live there are currently living. And so when you look at it on the plan, and it doesn't fit. So I'm opposed to this project.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Starkey?
So I'm in support of the project, but but I'd like them to stick with the 8 houses. Can we not condition this?
No, it's a Euclidean zone.
So, is there another number beside R4? Well, R4 is 60 by 100, right? That's the minimum? Is there some, like, what's the next size?
I would defer that to Ms. Hernandez.
And the reason is because while there may be farms and ranches there now, they're not going to be in the near future. And don't forget, there's a townhome project coming right down at the other end on the street, on the Caroline. So it's already starting to change. And I'd much rather see the bigger lots and that bigger size lot.
I'm not saying I'm opposed. I'm a fan of this type of development.
Yeah.
However, I'm saying at this point in time in this area, with what's in that existing area, if you go traveling, it does not fit.
Oh,
And
I
so,
disagree. And the neighbor is okay with it. And eight houses is not going to affect that road much.
Let's hear from Denise.
Yeah, but with Denise. But I don't want it to go to 60 now.
Right.
So the question was a step down from R4 would be R3, and those are 75 by 100-foot lots. Then after that, you have 9,500-foot lots, and then after that, you have 20,000 square foot lots.
So if we went to R3, could he get eight lots out of there? Is that the number you said? R3?
R3, 75 by 100.
2.61 acres.
Yeah, so he can get his,
Why don't we do
his
R3
number of
then?
lots.
Not R4.
R3 can get his 8?
He can get his 8 if he does R3.
I'd rather, I don't want to open the door to smaller lots.
Do you mind if we bring the applicant back up?
Yeah.
All right.
Commissioner, my client would like to offer R4 with a deed restriction for 8 units, if that's something that would make the difference. The reason why we haven't done R3 is because looking at the requirements of R3, it is a slightly larger lot size, and there's a preference just for the design of this that they would have the different sizes of lots, some larger and some slightly smaller, the 65. And so it would be my client's preference to do a deed restriction.
You can continue this for the applicant to submit a deed restriction, but as I said, you can't condition this. That would have to be something that would be offered.
You can either
up.
go to R3 today or continue and then get a deed restriction.
Okay, my client says R3 is okay.
Okay?
R3?
So I would make, okay, I would make the
Any
motion to
public comment?
R3.
Okay.
What's the motion?
R3.
R3? Okay. I'll move.
She moved, you second?
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
And opposed? Commissioner Waitman is opposed.
3-1.
Passes 3-1. Item P70.
We have approved publication of this item in the April 19th, 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times, and we do have folks signed up.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
William Devine, Planning and Development. Item P70, before I begin, I have received ex partes from Commissioner Waitman, Commissioner Bradford, Commissioner Starkey, Commissioner Mariano, and Commissioner Oakley, which have been submitted to the clerk's office. Item PDD 23-7689, in the name of Martha Joanne Wood Hinman. It's a zoning amendment from R1 Rural Density Residential District and R2 Low Density Residential District to MF1 Multifamily Medium Density District. The subject site is on the north side of Caroline Drive, west of Bridley Ford, which I always mix up, Drive. And here is the aerial view, Bradley Ford. Just some context, this is the surrounding area, a little zoomed out of the aerial. The surrounding future land use to the north is Res 3, and to the east, south, and west is all Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the north, east, and west is all AR, and to the south is R1. The subject site consists of a barn and tree farm on approximately 40.2 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with 162 townhomes in conformance with the MF1 multifamily medium density district standards for development. The applicant has volunteered to record a deed restriction for the property. Some of those restrictions are to limit the density to 162 dwelling units on the property. Shall have a maximum of 6 dwelling units per townhome building. Repave Caroline Drive from State Road 54 to the property boundary. Install a 5-foot sidewalk on the west side of Caroline Drive. There shall be a minimum of 40 feet building setback for the external property lines, except for conflicts with primary and emergency access. There shall be a type B landscape buffer with a minimum width of 30 feet. There shall be a minimum of 20 feet between buildings with dwelling units. There shall be a 6-foot high solid fence installed around the perimeter of the property. Driveways shall have a minimum of 23 feet in length. There shall be a minimum of 70 spaces for visitor parking, in addition to the parking requirements by the Pasco County Land Development Code. Access to Tupper Road will be emergency access only until such time Tupper Road is constructed to county standards and Division Road H is completed to Tupper Road. And then shall extend the eastbound left turn lane at the intersection of Caroline and State Road 54 if necessary based on an access management analysis. So that would be the last deed restriction. Access to the property is from Caroline Drive, a county-maintained local road with approximately 60 feet of right-of-way. Subject site has a future land use classification of Res 6 under the comprehensive plan. And this is coming with recommendations for approval from Planning Commission and Planning Development Department.
Ms. Starkey.
Was there any connection to the north, a stub out? I know there's nothing there now, but did we not discuss having some kind of future connectivity going north?
So this is a Euclidean one. We really don't restrict that, but it is part of our land development code to provide interconnects.
And so do they have a stub out to the north?
So
Euclidean zoning, there is no site plan.
Okay, well, I'll ask the applicant when she comes up.
Okay. Any other questions for staff this time? The applicant?
Good afternoon again, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard. I'll try not to duplicate your staff's presentation. As been presented to you, the total acreage is 40.2 acres, 29.8 acres uplands, the remainder wetlands, MF1 zoning for 162 townhomes, gross 4.1 units per acre, net 5.4 units per acre. 5.4 units per developable acre for a townhome project is on the low side for townhome density. And when I show you the concept plan, you'll be able to see how that works out. The comp plan is Res 6, which allows up to 194.49, which is 194 units. We're requesting 162, which is 20% lower than your comp plan density. Trip comparison to the current zoning, the existing zoning allows 152 units. And the decrease between the fact that going from single family to townhomes decreases your traffic in the AM by 39% and the PM by 28% over what's the property is zoned today. Context, you've just seen this. This is the urban service area, so not only do you have Res 6 that has been Res 6 for many, many years, but you also in 2008 made this your urban concentration area, and you also have done quite a bit of work in this area to look at what your road network needs to be as growth occurs. This is our site in comparison to the different things that are going on around it. As you can see, you've got Wells Road Extension, Grisby Downs Extension coming up, and our site will have, there's a condition that says that our access to Tupper will be emergency until you have the road network over here so we can get our project over to your Grisby Downs Extension. At that point, our project will have to have full access to Tupper Road once it's improved. This is our concept plan. Correct, we're doing Euclidean zoning. But we do have connectivity to the north and to Tupper Road on your southern side, as well as our entrance, which is on Caroline Drive. This is Caroline Drive entrance. This is
right there. Are you saying that could stub out to the north eventually?
Yeah, that is what your code requires, and we're not asking for any variation from that code. Your code requires that connection. Right here.
Okay, so that
will continue on.
Okay, and you know, people that live there need to know that that's a future road connection.
Correct.
Not a cul-de-sac, a T cul-de-sac, right?
Good point.
Okay.
So the other things that you'll see with this site plan, you'll see the things that Liam said to you regarding buffers and building setbacks. For example, along this property line, along all of our property lines, our building setback is 40 feet compared to the existing zoning, which today allows 25 feet, allows residences within 25 feet of your property lines. This is 40 feet. And right now you can have pools within 5 feet of the property lines, and all of our buildings will be back 40 feet.
So the driveways on the right of the townhome seem to be longer than the driveways on the left side. What's going on there?
I think it's just the picture. I can tell you that the deed restrictions call for a minimum driveway length of 23 feet. And so I think that's just a picture. The other thing that you'll notice from this is the buffering. We have enhanced buffering, and where we've chosen to put our ponds and our amenities. Our enhanced buffering is 30 feet, type B, on the south and east side of the project. Right now, the current zoning requires no buffer to the south. You can have homes to homes, no buffers. And the east requires a type A under the current zoning, 10 feet. We're providing 3 times that at 30 feet. We're going from an A buffer, which is required in the current zoning on this east side, to a type B buffer under your code. The code requires, would be a 15-foot under for multifamily, and we're proposing 30 feet. What we really tried to do here, commissioners, is when I noted that density of 5.4 units per acre being very low on townhomes, we provided, by keeping the density down, provided the ability to have larger building setbacks, more landscaping, as well as dedicated parking. We had the conversation about parking. This site plan is far enough along that we have committed to 70 visitor spaces. Those are dedicated visitor spaces outside of the driveways. So in addition to the minimum code requirements, there's 70. And they've been put in places so they'll be very usable by the residents and their guests. We have a fence surrounding the project. As you've heard, Caroline Drive is substandard. We were asked by staff to just make a substandard road payment, and that's what the code requires. It's substandard because of pavement quality, not because of width. This road is to standard, other than the pavement has worn down over time. It's the pavement quality that makes it substandard. But instead of just paying into it, my clients offered and has agreed to, in a deed restriction, to pave to county standards Caroline Drive from State Road 54 to the entrance. Caroline Drive is a public road. It's stubbed out to this property. So this is the continuation of Caroline Drive into this project. The other thing that we were asked by Planning Commission to do is to provide a sidewalk on the west side of Caroline Drive. There's no requirement for that. Your substandard road ordinance doesn't require sidewalks at all. They don't consider it. So we're going above and beyond and going to provide a sidewalk on that west side of Caroline Drive, which exceeds the code as well. I just ran through all those standards, as well as Liam said all the things that we're agreeing to. So this is the rendering of this project. We do have a builder developer, and this is their product.
Okay, that was going to be my question. And that's very nice looking. And those are trees, not understory bushes. And those are street trees.
This was created for this project. We didn't just go pick this somewhere. So that's our project. Thank you. If you have any questions, I have my team here.
Any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Commissioner Waitman.
Just be clear, be consistent. These are platted, fee simple, not rentals.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is this what they're going to look like, Barbara?
This was created by David Weekly Homes for this particular project.
Okay. That's
And
nice.
Mr. Chairman, just as I said in the last project, this is Euclidean. You do apparently have deed restrictions that you already offered up on this project,
That's
however.
correct. 12 of them. Correct, but that's correct.
What a difference between this and the other one that we saw.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that the street trees make a huge difference.
I'm going to ask the applicant a question. Barbara, I'm sorry. If you would put the picture up on the connectivity part.
Now I'm failing at the
That picture
PowerPoint
right there.
exercise. Sorry about that.
On the top right part, there's a road that tees into abutting your property there, but you don't connect to that. Why is that?
You're speaking to our east?
Yeah.
To the right side.
Gated?
Yeah, to the east. That's a gated, Saddle
Yeah.
Ridge community, gated private roads. We have no legal ability to connect.
That's
Okay.
what happens when you gate them. So.
What about on the top part? Is it still gated all the way up there as it goes out to the other way?
That road you see here, Saddle Ridge starts at a gate right here, goes this way, and then this way they have, it's private all the way up.
All the way past that property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair, that was a series of dirt road easements
Okay.
up there.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is the time for public comment. Anyone here from the public want to speak to this item? We have some people.
We have folks signed up. Teresa Bales.
I'll be right back up.
Ma'am, your name and address, and if you would confirm that you were sworn.
Yes, my name is Teresa Bales. I live at 29624 Waybridge Way, West Virginia, Florida, and I was sworn in.
Thank you.
I would like to speak to this project. I brought some pictures, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. I've lived in this neighborhood for 20 years. It's beautiful out there. Caroline Drive has half-acre lots. We live on acre lots. I was kind of taken back by the Tupper Road project. Didn't know that was coming down the road, but I run down Tupper Road out to the interstate and back, so I'm familiar with that part personally. I would like to say that I'm opposed to this project, mainly because of the traffic. This is a picture of the intersection of Saddlebrook and Highway 54 at the corner of Tupper Road. That stop sign that says right turn only is coming off Tupper Road. You have to go right to go towards I-75 on Highway 54. The next picture, please. This is taken at the east side of Tupper Road, looking at the intersection of Saddlebrook, going towards I-75, going west on Highway 54. Next, please. Am I supposed to be pushing something? I feel like okay. This is just another picture of that area. So I understand when you have a problem, you're supposed to come with a solution. My solution, instead of driving all those 300 cars down Caroline Road, which is a substandard road, which they said they're going to fix, is not the answer. I think it is to go down Tupper Road, especially since Tupper Road is supposed to connect to other roads in the future, and you're building 8 more homes down Tupper Road. The next picture, please. This is the community Brookside, which was a Southern Living Home community, beautiful community. When they come out of there, they have to go right to an ingress lane, make a U-turn to go west on Highway 54. They have no direct access in and out of their neighborhood on 54 unless you're going to Zephyr Hills. Okay, the next one, please. This is the ingress lane coming to east on 54 towards Caroline Drive. This is what we have when 54 was widened. This was the agreement that they came up with so we can turn into our neighborhood. We were not afforded a light at that intersection, so we have this ingress lane that goes into Caroline Drive. Next picture, please. This is taken looking at the lane. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning. We have to play Frogger to try to get across the road to get down Caroline Drive. You're going to have another 162 homes built on the end of Caroline Drive. You've got to get traffic to go that way. Next picture, please. This is cars coming out of Caroline Drive going west. These are cars pulling into Caroline Drive, traffic on 54. Next. When we come out on Caroline Drive, the only way we can go is right. Now we have knuckleheads that go straight across the road and go left, but that's illegal. So in order to go left and to go towards Zephyr Hills, we have to go down to the light at Saddlebrook, make a U-turn, and go back to go east on Highway 54. This is a guy doing a U-turn right there. So you've got traffic coming out of Caroline, you've got U-turns going on, you've got traffic coming from the left. Okay, next please. The speed limit on Caroline, this is a picture of Caroline going north. The speed limit is 30 miles an hour. Next, some county commissioner asked the last time the planning guy asked what the speed limit was. This is the dead end. This is the entrance to the property that's going to be rezoned, and to the right is the entrance into our neighborhood, Saddle Ridge Estates. Next, please. This is the picture you were asking about what that road was that was next to it. This is the gated community going in there. Okay, next. This is the Woods property. This is taken on Tupper Road. This is the emergency entrance that they're going to use to put out onto Tupper Road. This is the guy's property that has all that acreage. This is the Woods property to the right. Next, please. This is taken from Tupper Road looking down towards going to 54. This is the dead end road where those other 8 houses are going. Next, please. I'm talking as fast as I can. This is the emergency entrance. My suggestion would be to make the entrance to the community go in this emergency access and use Tupper Road. Next, please. You can go past that one. This is next. And this is the paved part, which is at Downey and Tupper. There's a section that's paved, and the rest is dirt to pave to 54. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your guys' time. I appreciate you reading my emails too that I sent. Thank you.
And next person?
We have signed up, Nora Robeck.
And is there anyone else in the audience?
Ms. Robeck, if you would, again, confirm your address and whether you were sworn.
Sure, Nora Robeck, and address is 29650 Waybridge Way, and I was sworn in. So I have many concerns as well as most of the residents here. My main concern is the traffic. And right now, there is no traffic light Obviously, the traffic is increasing on Highway 54. We are now going to be crossing 3 lanes of traffic. The speed limit on 54 is 45 miles per hour, but no one's doing that. We're literally trying to dodge cars as it is. I can't even imagine adding all of this traffic that this townhome community is going to bring. Also, I know that there was a traffic analysis done as well, but I don't believe the traffic analysis includes the more than 1,000 homes that are going in just 3.5 miles going east, 3.5 miles going west, all the homes that are being built. So we're not even taking into consideration of that, and as it is right now, we are challenged to cross from 54 to get onto Caroline. Same thing in the morning. You're literally at 0 speed pulling out into traffic where cars are going 45, 50 miles an hour. So, I mean, I am truly concerned for the residents, my family. I have a young driver in the house. I'm really sad that we've even gotten this far with this project. Also, I will say, this is one thing too. I believe in the Planning Commission, there was this, yes, thank you. So I've been a realtor for 18 years, and I really can't think of a townhome community where you have to go through an older residential area where the lots are larger. Everyone lives on a larger lot. In Saddlebrook, we're on an acre plus. So the examples that they gave here, I agree with it. This is perfect. This is where you should see a townhome community. These are planned unit developments. There are multiple points of entry, and all of these communities have a traffic light for the safety of those residents, where we do not. So also, I would say as a realtor for the last 18 years in this area, I know that there's a housing demand. We have hundreds and hundreds of townhomes that are going to be completed by the end of the year. That's not even including what's going on Curly Road. Right now the demand is luxury homes or upscale homes, which the gentleman just presented before us. That is the need, that's the demand. I guess I would just ask you to please consider our safety, our lives, and just know that we know something will be built there. We're just asking you to continue to complement what we already have on Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience wish to address this item? Anyone want on WebEx?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we're going to close public comment. To the board. Commissioner Waitman.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to give the applicant a rebuttal?
Let's hear from the applicant first.
Barbara Wilhite for the applicant. Sound like most of the discussion was regarding traffic. We do have our traffic engineer, Steve Henry, here that can go through and discuss any traffic issues you want to discuss. I would state that we have been thoughtful our access management analysis will have to look at that intersection of 54 and Caroline Drive, which is off-site. And we did a deed restriction that says that if that access management analysis, the access management analysis will include that intersection even though it's off-site. Usually you do access management at your entrance. And if a longer turn lane is warranted, we've committed to that as well. So I just wanted to point that out because I didn't make that a part of my presentation before. Steve Henry is available if you want to hear more from him regarding traffic, or we can answer questions.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. So this property already has entitlements on it. It could be the number of townhomes that's listed here, what, 155 single-family units? What's the number?
162 townhomes and 152 single-family homes are zoned for now.
Right, so it's got existing entitlements. One's gonna have less traffic than the other, but it goes to the point of what would we have approved on this site based on the neighboring, how the current homes are being built if this property didn't already have its entitlements? Just food for thought. When you travel this area, and this has been my concern for months now, when we've talked, Andy and I, we've talked to DOT about this area is so congested with folks coming in and out of Saddlebrook, in and out of, it's dangerous, frankly, it's really in and out of Brookside, and then you come and you try to turn north and you're crossing 3 lanes into Caroline Drive. You have Tupper, which is a substandard road. You're going to, let the board's approved today and the future. This area is ripe for being fixed. What the fix is, I'm not sure. It's 50. It's 50.
We have a vision road, I think.
But that's not. That's a vision. That's way on out there. We're adding potentially hundreds of units, and then more coming on. More folks traveling up and down Tupper, and they're going to have to just make a right-hand turn only. And folks coming off Caroline and coming through and having to turn right out onto 54. It's the traffic in this area, then what's potentially going to changes potential of Saddlebrook. This entire area, something needs to happen. We need to have, I think, an emergency action plan on what we're going to do to alleviate the traffic safety, something in that area when all these units come online. Travel, I wish you would. You have Walmart right there, folks flying up and down east and west. It's a troubled traffic flow area, and that's my biggest concern with all the projects that are going in right here. It's, you all travel in Saddlebrook, so I'd like to hear board's thoughts on what we can do to keep folks safe who live in this area.
If I may, there's a process by which we go
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Let me have Commissioner Oakley first.
Well,
I want to go. We'll get to the board first.
Just to the west of Saddlebrook, you've got that road coming up with a new light, and there's a vision road, I believe, there that travels to the north. Does it connect somehow to this project? Does anyone know? No, but it's coming. Roads always come after, you gotta remember.
If you wanted to reload me, I can show you where our project is compared to that. I don't remember which way I'm supposed to go there. So this is our project, and then you see, which is Bruce B. Downs Extension coming from Bruce B. Downs coming across Wiregrass. Saddlebrook, if approved, will do the piece of Bruce B. Downs Extension from Wiregrass Boulevard to 54. Spoke to Scott Sheridan today, and that is in the works. I have no doubt that if Saddlebrook is approved, that piece will be done. The conditions for Saddlebrook say you can't have the first CO in Development Area 1 until that road is constructed. So that road's coming. So it's a matter of the rest of the road. You can see there's quite a bit of property around this property that's all owned by the same owner. A project will come in here and we'll provide the solution to bring this road up to here and then to here. It means something when you all plan your vision roads. I actually think, I remember we didn't have vision roads when I was at the county. These roads are you look at build out, you look at how it's going to grow, and you come up with these these other roadways to move traffic around. Our project is here. This is Tupper Road. Tupper Road eventually will be also, you see that there's property on this side, right? So Tupper Road's going to be improved. It did require to be improved. At this point, you've got the proportionate share payment because that's what's required of the code. But Tupper Road will be improved. This project will have full access to Tupper Road when it's improved. I think the rest of this roadway is going to fill, this notebook is going to fill in as this vacant property here is developed. From 54 all the way up and around will be a piece of that, and we're going to go over the code to improve Caroline Drive. It's only a quality issue with the pavement. It is a standard road, except for the pavement quality is older. We're going to extend the turn lane at Caroline. We'll look at that at access management analysis. If the access management analysis says you need to extend it 100 feet, 200 more feet, we will do that. So just want to give you the bigger picture of what's going on. I understand what you're saying, Commissioner, and I think you're looking for a broader discussion, but from a project perspective, you know, meeting and exceeding and fitting into all these plans, that's kind of where we're coming from.
Can I? Oh,
Okay.
I have some questions.
Let me go to the Resident Commissioner again. I'll come back to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate these vision roads. Their vision, 15 years from now or however long. But my concern is the immediate. There are approved densities on the Caroline Drive site. When we had that many folks, townhome study shows it's going to be less traffic than single family, but nonetheless, it's still a lot of traffic, a lot more traffic ending in to 54 with limited movement. You have to go west and figure out how to come back east or however you got to move. Then potentially south of there on the Saddlebrook side, more folks. My concern is we really need to work. You mentioned your turn lane, that could alleviate some safety, but I like our staff to get with DOT and really talk about light time. And Andy and I met with DOT 2 weeks ago, and they mentioned that it's been a while since they looked at the light timing and the light cycle through here. And this has been, if you look back, this has been my number one concern from this. Bruce B. Downs moving east on 54 is the traffic and the number of lights and people having to cross 3 lanes to make a U-turn to go one way or another. And so that's a real life daily concern that the folks living in this area face every day. And then we're going to, more folks move in, and then it's just compounding the issue. So I guess it's more of a point made to Mr. Carballa and his team on, it's important. Maybe if there's a way to talk about once we get the Tupper Road and improve Tupper Road sooner than later, and then it has a different access point potentially for the flow of traffic.
Or has 2.
So
Hold on.
I'm just throwing that out there for folks to be thinking about the future of the roadway system immediately in this area.
Commissioner Starkey.
In looking at this map, there's so many neighborhoods here, and if you look at them, you will see, look where it says step down. Look at the neighborhoods where it says down. They don't connect to each other. Everybody has to go out in and out on the same road. That is a recipe for disaster. This is what we have done by not requiring connectivity between the neighborhoods. It's very hard to fix this once you've allowed that to happen, because you'd have to take out houses, buy a house in this neighborhood and a house in that neighborhood, and put a road through to connect them. But we shouldn't be putting in these neighborhoods that don't connect to each other. I sure don't want to see when that other piece of property that wraps around this one comes in. It doesn't need to be townhomes. It can be nicer homes. We need those in the county. Can't have everything being townhomes. But I'm just frustrated that we've allowed so many neighborhoods that don't connect to other roads. And y'all have to get out. You have to get in and out of 54, in and out of 52. We're doing it again on State Road 52, I'm telling you. and we're gonna get ourselves in trouble.
Like, I look at the stub outs, I'm like, well, where is it gonna, I mean, maybe it'll eventually hit Division Road, but your options to the east to get to Boyette or, you know, Cooper Road, which is an unpaved easement, basically. It's just, it's tough. So when we go to plan the future of this land that's left here, we're still the same board.
Well, we would make the development.
Hold on.
Oh.
Look,
Well, I was talking about something.
look bigger, so I appreciate your time.
Commissioner Oakley.
All right. When you look at the safe way out of this Tupper Road and going on to 54 is not to go straight across and take a left. We know that. We have our own engineers in-house that can look at timing of lights and tweak those to make them right. So the way out of Tupper Road is basically the safest way is right turn only. We have some other areas in the county already. On to Island Boulevard, there's one especially, Silver Oaks. They should have a right turn only because there's been some deadly accidents coming out of that area. So, but we have traffic folks that can do that tweaking of lights, and they can look at this project, and I'm sure Mike can stress to them.
There's no light there. There's no light that's at.
No. A right turn only, no light.
There's
That's
no
still
light.
a safe turn out of that without going to your left. And
That's
you
what
have to
they
go
have,
down
I
and
think.
move over and be safe and make a U-turn to come back the other way.
There's no right-hand turn into Caroline or Tupper Road. You put your blinker on and open.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about coming out. I'm not talking about going in.
There's no
Go
light.
ahead.
There's no, it's only a Saddlebrook.
Yeah. There's no light at Tupper.
And the
I
next
know
one
that.
is the board where the old post office is, where Boyette, bypassing Boyette Road popped up, and there's a light there. Yeah, Van Dyne, at Van Dyne. Where the new road, the Boyette comes straight, and it's Van Dyne and by the racetrack there.
Okay.
You're done? Okay. So, I'm glad the residents came forward because, we heard very similar things from people that live in Brookside at the Saddlebrook thing about going out and around. We heard that people coming from outside of Saddlebrook with the apartments to be looping around, where they got to go this way, and they're all going to go 75% going back to 75. So with all that's going on, never mind all the apartments coming in down 54. And keep in mind, I told you when I came back from going to Saddlebrook one day from 581, 45 minutes to get from 581 and 56 into Saddlebrook. 45 minutes from back up. When you throw more density in here, and you've got a very unique situation where you've got a series of lights that they can't time. And then anyone who goes up and down 19, you can see that it's tough to time lights, but you don't even have lights sequence where you can even get to it. You're going to have a very difficult turn, and if you've got all this extra density coming in, trying to make that left in, and you get a couple of crazy people trying to make a left out, and you can go look at data in front of the old the new Walmart small store at Little and Ridge Road, the accidents there by people jumping out and jumping over when they shouldn't be going that way. You're going to see some big accidents. I appreciate the developer. I think he's great. I think he does a phenomenal job. Your presentation is good, but when you look at the traffic, when I first was elected, one of the first things we did was actually put a lot of money into this intersection. Ton of money.
Yeah.
Trying to improve it.
Really bad.
But then we keep on improving development, and guess what? We just had to go spend a whole bunch of money on the Virgin Diamond. This road had been built many years ago, going up and through, maybe it would have helped, right? But it's could be years down the road. We're talking about how we don't want to, like, talked about it earlier today, you don't want to allocate special money to go to a certain area when you want to improve development. You're going to be sitting in a situation where you're going to create another problem that we don't need to have going through here. This area is jam-packed. 54 is just jam-packed. It's going to get worse when the development just finishes up. Even if we do nothing else, we're going to have traffic issues. So I can't support what's going on.
Barbara,
Mr. Starkey.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the applicant's attorney again. Can you say again what you know about the Bruce B. Downs extension? Because that will be a major reliever for this, but I just want to make sure I heard.
Yes, so this portion here, Wiregrass has the obligation to construct. This portion here, Wiregrass has the obligation to give the right-of-way for. This project, Saddlebrook, is working with Wiregrass on the specific alignment that this is going to take if this project's over here is approved, that this project's going to take. So this is going to be done, and going north, this project here has an obligation to give right-of-way in their current MPUD.
Wait, which project has to do it?
This project right here, going north, so we've covered from Bruce B. Downs up to 54. This project here, there's an MPUD approved that has to give right-of-way.
We already approved one?
Yep, yes.
It's in the land that surrounds the site, your site?
My site's over here.
Yeah.
My access is over here.
Because that looks like a wetland, so what project are you talking about?
There is a project here that has the obligation to give right-of-way.
And what is the project? What is it?
Staff knows better than me.
Let staff come up.
Stony Brook MPUD right here.
Oh, Stony Brook?
Yeah, they're at the corner of what would be your future Vision Road and 54. They have an obligation to give right-of-way. So the missing pieces are going through this property up here, which is under ownership. So solutions to traffic are through your Vision Roads. Your Vision Roads are based upon growth.
I'm sorry if I can interrupt you. So
please.
From 54 to Tupper, is that what Stony Brook has to build? Or they just have to give the right?
Stony Brook has to give the right-of-way adjacent to their property for your Vision Road.
And the impact fees that are coming from Saddlebrook, mobility fees? Well, is that enough to fix that road? No, because we've got Pasco Town Center to the north of this, right? This feeds Pasco Town Center way up there, I know.
Eventually your road here does go.
It's an important road.
It's a parallel road, right? It's a very important road.
I just wonder how long it'll take to get to Tupper.
How long to get to Tupper? Oh, till this piece is done?
Yeah.
I think your solution is I think you'll see the development pressure for this property. You can see it's the only vacant larger piece of property you have in the area. The development pressure is going to come, and our investment growth is not a bad thing. Density is not your enemy. So the development pressure is here for this large tract around us, one ownership. I think that project will come in and work with the county on a solution to get the rest of the roads done. Just like Wiregrass is doing this, and Saddlebrook's going to do this piece. So development can do these roads. Our project is proposing less density than what it's approved for today. So
the project to the left of that line, I'm going to try and blow it up here. It's not going to connect to the Vision Road or Tupper, is it?
Which project?
The one that has the words Bruce B. Downs on it. It's already built.
That is a built project right there.
And it doesn't connect to anything.
I believe that's
we didn't do any stub outs or anything.
We didn't have
No.
your network that you have. We didn't have Vision Roads back then.
Right.
Your Vision Roads are
coming up this side.
Are a pretty good system of roads to provide for traffic flow.
So going back to Tupper and Caroline, is there any reason why this project can't use both those roads?
Physically, it's actually interesting. Physically, our site can connect. You see these roads here. Whoops. Not a very good close-up, but look at Tupper and then Caroline.
Yeah.
And then the roads go east-west. Those roads, people on those roads to the south of us can go to Tupper or they can go to Caroline. It's physically connected. This is all physically connected, these homes, to either Caroline or Tupper. So they actually have access to two different ways.
Can I see your site plan again, if you don't mind?
Sure.
So that's Caroline, and what's to the left there?
This is
Okay.
Caroline coming up right
Okay, and
here.
Tupper would be,
And Tupper is right off of here, it's right here, it comes up right
and
off.
are you connecting to that, or you're not connected to that?
We are providing emergency access until Tupper Road's approved, then that's converted to, as a deed restriction, is converted to full access. Your staff and the planning commission both pointed out that we want to see it full access. We want to see you have access to Tupper Road when it's improved. We want to see you to have access to the Vision Road via Tupper Road. And again, when you look at what's going on, because you have one property around this site, you've got vacant property to the north of the segment of Tupper Road, you've got vacant property to the south, you're now taking money to go towards Tupper Road by approving the project earlier today. So these roads are all going to come into play as this last piece here comes into play.
And was Tupper Road off of 54 paved or non-paved? I know going.
Steve is
not paved.
I'm getting beyond what I know about the road conditions out there. I understand it's Tupper Road is somewhat paved, somewhat not paved. It is substandard. Like I said on Caroline, the only thing that makes Caroline substandard is the pavement quality at this point. It's an older road, but the width of it is standard. Steve, do you know more about Tupper Road?
But they were going to fix.
He's looking. We don't access Tupper roads. We didn't look at it.
And what were you going to do to Caroline Road?
We're going to pave it instead of just what your code requires and what your staff asked of us was a proportionate share payment under the code. We're going to pave it to county standards. This developer is going to pay to make that road standard pavement quality because everything else is standard already. And they're also going to add a sidewalk on the west-hand side.
You will add a sidewalk?
Which your substandard road ordinance doesn't contemplate.
Anything else for the applicant?
And that's it.
But what can you have now without our approval?
Pardon me?
Commissioner Starkey.
152. Current zoning is 152. More trips than what townhomes. Townhomes produce less trips, so this is less trips. You've got a good developer here. You've got a lot of deed restrictions.
I think
you have the ability for a very quality project, and we ask for you to support it.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. To frame it, it's less trips, more trips. Still, there's entitlements on the property that's going to generate more folks and more traffic in the area. I appreciate the folks working on this project, wanting to go and do the work that needs to be done on Caroline Drive. That's not necessarily something they have to do, and I'm very appreciative of that, and the quality of the product that they're looking at building there, and the concessions that have been made to this piece of property. I'm appreciative of Ms. White, your client's willingness to work and to build something nice, and to build something that has real value to it, and then do their best to improve, the quality of life and the life of the folks living in this area is going to change. It's basically going to change overnight when these projects get approved and the volume of traffic come out. So it's a quick change to the area, which goes to my concern with both roads are essentially substandard, but we have a project that's going to improve one. We have another road, Tupper, that it still comes the same thing. It dead ends at 54 and people have to turn right. They all go to the same red light. No plans in the near future to pave Tupper, or no plans in the near future to get the Vision Road done. And so, look at the lesser of two evils on what we vote on today on this site. I just ask that we work to find some sort of traffic management plan in the short time to manage all these folks and keep them safe as they're going to and from their home.
Let me ask a question of staff, if you don't mind. So, the density they have currently is R1 rural density residential and R2 low density residential. Please explain to me how the statement where it's less dense if we go with the townhome project.
There are less trips.
Less
What the
trips.
applicant said was there was less trips.
Okay, so.
That's what I was just
Yeah,
asking.
I think that's probably.
So tell me how many homes would be on there first?
Absolutely. So basically, the property has a split zoning of R1, which is 2.2 dwelling units per acre, and an R2, which is 4.6 dwelling units per acre. When you add all that up, based on the areas that are R1 and R2, I actually came up with 153, but let's say that the applicant is correct at 152. But in terms of the trips, the traffic engineer can answer that question. And I believe what he's going to explain is that attached units produce less trips than do single-family detached, because I believe one of the things that happens in single-family detached is that they tend to be larger units, more square footage. But I will allow that expert to state that.
All right, but stay with me. So for the
Sure.
units minus the wetlands, how many do you figure they can get?
153 is what I got in gross.
And remember that.
153 gross.
And I have a question for following what you're saying.
Go ahead,
If
Mr. Starkey.
they could do that today.
Correct.
And not have to pave Caroline.
That's correct. There was no condition of approval on
So
the
this
prior
is
rezoning.
generating less trips and paving Caroline and adding a sidewalk. So that's why I'm inclined to approve. It's the better of both options, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think this is the better thing, and this is a quality builder, quality product.
I just struggle with the units. I can't see how they could get the same amount of units with the same.
So, so why don't we do multiplication together? Okay. So let's do the exercise. 27 acres approximately of R2. Multiply 27 times 4.6.
Who's doing it? Oakley?
Okay.
Is that a calculator in your hand, or are you texting?
So that should give you, I think, 124.
Got it.
And then you take 13.2 at 2.2. That should give you 29. Add those two, you got 153.
And what about the wetlands?
That's why I said this was gross, not net.
I'm talking. net.
I would literally probably have
net's the whole
to
thing.
sit for a while and figure it out.
That's the whole thing.
'cause
They've
I don't
All right,
think the
so we get a
wetland
different
has been
number.
delineated, so we don't know the wetland. So I don't think
All
it's
right,
been
so that
delineated.
number could go down substantially. from what we
Potentially,
got.
yes.
All right, let's get up on map pages. I want to see what the
So
wetlands are.
yeah, and thank you for the applicant to tell me that the code calculates it on the gross, so that's what we're doing, we're calculating on
I
gross.
understand. I'm talking reality, though. I want to know how many trips are really going to happen.
Is that a wetland or
You give me an answer.
And maybe I can answer.
I'm not looking for your
traffic.
trips. I'm looking for a count of how many buildings we can actually get there. I'm not looking for that. I want my answer first. Let's do math. How many wetlands we got out there? Drop out map pages if you have to. This is a big issue.
So map
Because
pages
what we've
is
been
not.
told hasn't been right.
Map pages is not a full wetland delineation, so that's not a delineated wetland. We can do that.
More math? Why don't we take a 10-minute break while staff takes a look and does a calculation for us? Okay?
Okay, we'll move on.
My time.
Take a 10-minute break.
Go to meeting at 10:15, 4:15.
You got it.
chief assistant. And they allowed me to apply to be chief assistant. I can't work for them all night.
Okay, Denise, so with the new calculations of the wetlands, what do we got?
Okay, so here's what we've got. So basically, the applicant has provided in their PowerPoint that you have approximately 10 acres that are wetlands on the property. So what we looked at is that I had stated previously that 27 of those acres are within R2. We allocated two of those acres to be wetlands. So we said 25 upland. So 25 multiplied by 4.6. We're going to get to the R1 in a second. 25 multiplied by 4.6 is 115.
Hang on a second. So it's, how many acres is the total?
10 altogether.
25?
So altogether, the acreage is 40 acres. It's 40.2,
No, I
but
know
it's
that.
40 acres, okay?
Okay.
So 27 acres are R2. We're allocating two of those acres as wetlands, so you get 25. Times 4.6 is 115. Then the 13 acres, most of the wetlands is in that area, so we're allocating 8 acres to that. So that leaves us with 13 minus 8 is 5. So you multiply 5 by 2.2 and you get 11. And 115 plus 11 is 126.
Yeah.
So that's what we're getting,
Okay.
126.
And what was the other number we had?
The other number we had was 153. The applicant's saying 152, but that's fine. I mean, it's just off by one unit.
So
Yeah, Barbara, come on.
just factually, I'm trying to be helpful here. What Steve Henry was going to tell you is that single-family homes, 96 equals 162 townhomes. So you are still, even if you use the 125 number that Ms. Hernandez came up with, still a decrease in trips.
Okay.
And you get a roadway
And a sidewalk.
and a sidewalk. Well, it's gonna need sidewalk with more traffic. Kids need a place to ride a bike safely.
Okay, where are we?
Anyone here from the traffic consultant, or you just want to take Barbara's methodology? Commissioner Wade?
Before I had some ex parte, I had a rookie move here, some ex parte communications. And on this subject with the residents in Caroline Drive, so I submit this for the record, the names of the folks I spoke with.
Okay, do I have a motion to receive and file?
Wait, what was your motion?
I had an ex parte
So,
communication.
yeah, and just a reminder, when there's a break, don't talk to either the applicants or the residents, or that's ex parte contact, just especially after you
Not
close
supposed to do
public comment. So I asked the commissioner to disclose that.
Okay.
Okay, disclosed. Any other questions for applicant or staff?
No questions?
All right, I'm just gonna ask Steve Henry to come up and just give me the data on those trips.
Sure, what I did was run some quick numbers on the 126. So basically, if you have 126 homes compared to the 162 townhomes, it would result in about 11 less trips in the AM peak hour and about 29 less in the PM peak hour. So in both instances, the existing entitlements would generate more traffic than what we're proposing.
Repeat that, please.
It's 11 trips in the AM, less with what we're proposing over what is currently allowed on the property, and 29 in the PM peak hour. So it's a net reduction in traffic.
And those are peak hour trips.
Those are peak hour trips, correct. And obviously we need a less decrease in the daily also.
You're confident that what you're proposing is indeed less trips on Carolina Drive?
Correct, yes. Based on
single-family home.
Correct. We base, our numbers are based on ITE, which is national data that has done studies on hundreds and hundreds of different single-family and townhome projects. And historically, always, all the numbers, townhomes generate less traffic per unit than single-family. And part of it is most townhomes have less kids, is really what it boils down to. Single-family tends to have more kids, more traffic in and out than townhomes do. And so per unit, a townhome project has less traffic. And that's national data. That's also data out of what you guys use for mobility fees, but it is less traffic per unit.
But it's possible in this demographic area where the schools, et cetera, are being a great quality of life, where it's hard for people to afford to live, this townhome project could get loaded up with more than proportionally done for the data you're using.
On average, again, it's not saying that there aren't any kids in townhomes. On average, townhomes generate less traffic. There's still kids in townhomes. I'm saying on average, there are less per unit than there would be on a typical single family.
Let me ask the applicant a question. Would the applicant take less units from what he's asking for right now?
What's your thought?
126.
Just 126.
Well, he's at 153 now.
The same number of
162 is what's
single-family houses as I think the
it's the same
commissioners
number
thought.
as the single family. Okay, thank you. I was trying to figure out what the, it's been a long day. It's only Tuesday.
Sorry about that.
So you're asking if you would keep it the same number.
Keep it the same number.
But there's numbers and trips. So we're trying to equivalate, we're trying to make something equivalent that's not equivalent. I mean, we're worried about trips and traffic, and we've told you all about traffic, but now we're just going to arbitrarily cut a project. I mean, you're just hurting the project, and it's not going to, we already have less trips, so he can answer for himself. I guess I can go ask him, but it's been a long time since we just started cutting density to cut density.
That's 27 units.
Back to the days of Commissioner Hildebrand and Chinese auctions, my client can reduce down to 150 and not kill the project.
150 from?
From 162. Which is even more of a reduction of the trips, which is what you're all looking for.
Move to approve with the restrictions?
Second.
So, just because it's Euclidean, so the applicant will revise its deed restriction to 150.
That's correct.
And with that revision to the deed restriction, the commissioner is moving for approval.
If it looks like the picture you showed us with street trees and trees with the landscaping package you showed us, so we don't have to go through, we went through on the last one.
On the record, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Any further discussion? I'll just say it's unfortunate what's there, what's granted, and I think it's the best situation we can get.
Yeah.
So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I think we need clarification of the motion, because I know there was a comment about the way the site plan, that's not in the deed restrictions. I just wanted to make sure that.
That's what she said.
To be clear, okay, so we're adding another deed restriction.
Yeah, and
okay.
I think I put that in the record. That was a factual representation of the builder's product.
Yeah.
Is that our last one?
That's our last one. Commissioner Oakley, you wanted to bring something up?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Let me see what
And actually, what I want to bring up, I'll wait till everybody clears so we can hear it, so. Okay, so, of course, I sit as the chairman of the board on Tampa Bay Water, and it's come to my attention.
Quiet, please.
It's come to my attention that not just us, but other people are having issues about water. We don't seem to have those kind of issues because of our plan with Tampa Bay Water and what they provide us in wholesale water. We have cities like the city of Zephyr Hills have an issue about water to the point that they can't bring in a new project. They're asking the developer to figure out their water problem because the city of Zephyr Hills is in a closed basin because all the water for Hillsborough County goes to the city of Tampa. So they have to depend on others to get water. And several years back, I worked at getting the parallel to 301 on the east side of the road, a water link between Dade City and Zephyr Hills, because at the time, Dade City had all kinds of water, and Zephyr Hills was to the point they couldn't drill any more wells in their area because they're in a closed basin. So the fact of it is, there's projects being turned in or want to turn into the county that deals with water, but the city of Zephyr Hills can't provide it. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to be sure if we can help them provide water, and Mike can speak up because David Allen's, I think, on vacation, but he's not here at this meeting, so I could ask him. But I think it's a concern, and that's a water issue, and Zephyr Hills is having it now. Zephyr Hills is receiving 200,000 gallons a day through that line now from Dade City. Well, soon, Dade City will not be able to provide the 200,000 because now Dade City's growing and they've annexed some properties in for more housing and all. They're going to need that water for themselves. So then it leaves Zephyr Hills without being able to possibly develop because they have no water, unless the county can step in. And I've talked to Billy Poe, city manager of Zephyr Hills, about this before, if they could change the way they treat the water where it would be identical to that of Pasco County and Tampa Bay Water, the way we treat it, so that water could be blended and make it better for them to be able to, us to sell them water in the city so it can take care of these developments. So I think something we got to think about. Polk County to our east, their only source of water is wells. So when you think about their source of water being wells, they reach a certain point and have been getting close to the fact they don't have any more water source themselves. That's a huge county and a pretty rural county overall. So we know they're having issues. They're also having the same issue because they have big developments wanting to come in a lot of land in Polk County, where they're going to have to hold up the developments because they can't provide water. So we got to be very careful about that. At the same token, we need to also and we can't mess with the TIF and pull monies to fix roads, to fix road problems around some of these developments. So we have to be careful, but the mobility fee is going to have to come in enough to where we can fix those roadways to where it makes it safer for all our residents at the same time. So one issue is water in the future for one of our cities. As a matter of fact, it's our largest city in the county at this time. Or if we're willing or we can help them with water issues, then I would think, and I've heard in the past, I thought we were willing to do so. At the same time, sitting on the board of Tampa Bay Water, we need more and more water projects for a water resource in the future. One of my thoughts was that we'd have a water issue with another reservoir like we have the other one, but not nearly as big, maybe half the size or more, so that we possibly could have for another water source to help South Hillsborough and others that don't have water sources that we have. And they have a reclaim issue, and knock on wood, our growth has come later to where we've been able to retrofit and put reclaim into water yards. And so we've got a lot of uses out here to take care of the use of reclaimed water. So we don't have nearly the problem that Pinellas County is facing, or even the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County. They're facing big issues with reclaimed water down the line if they can't get rid of it, or they can't make it cleaner to go into the bay and keep the bay safe.
And by law, they have to fix that
Yeah.
soon.
And yeah, that's right. So it's one of those things that faces, but you get thinking about it, it seems okay. And I mean, we're having this discussion today on these projects coming in with all this, and it's schools and roadways always come in behind developments. And today you saw what the issue was about being able to get on roads when you got so much traffic, and being able to have interconnect of different projects. I actually today am, a lot of people, and I think staff's even told us about it before, about the interconnect activity of the different projects, but a lot of them don't want to have interconnect. They don't want people coming from outside, especially if they're gated. But you can understand why. So, but those are issues we're going to face in the future, and we need to be aware of them, I think, and the fact that we need to be thinking more in those lines for our development, develop our county the right way, to be able to look ahead and plan for these kind of things. And if we can help our cities, then I think we need to do what we need to reach out to help them. So, but that's basically all I want to tell you. I just want to bring you up to speed on what's happening around us that might affect our developments. I mean, it's doing theirs, and if we don't get roads ahead. But again, don't get me wrong, you can't take money where you don't have it and use all the money up, and then the next thing you know, you got this area that needs this roadway done, and you have no money. You can't steal from Peter to pay Paul. It doesn't work that way. So the monies we get in through mobility fees to take care of some of the roadways and for the traffic and all is very important. So, and we do have a good engineering group with the traffic ops and things of that nature that check on what's happening in our county. So.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Okay.
You know, I'm glad you bring up a point that it's something to take a look at and how we need to work together as well.
Right.
For Tampa Bay Water to work, we've got to work together. We put a lot of money into that plant. The reservoir, we put a lot of money into the desal plant, and the desal plant only runs partially because it's so expensive to run it.
Right.
So that's not the best solution, even though I know that's one of the projects being talked about. I'm gonna lead you back to what I brought up this morning as far as under conservation. I think we should be working with the city, all our cities, including ourselves, and let's go find out how many toilets are out there are on high capacity. Let's go work on a program to switch that over. Let's get a partnership with SwiftMud, maybe Tampa Bay Water too. Because if we're gonna go struggle to spend a huge amount of money, that's gonna take a ton of engineering, a ton of money to design, a ton of money to build, and then you're moving it, when we can conserve, which will even save money on being able to treat the water, which is gonna come out as well, I think it's a much stronger way to go, and it's quicker, that we can accommodate for this rapid growth we're facing, all the development pressures we're facing, to be able to get out front of it. And I think, again, I'll bring this up at the joint meeting we have coming up on Friday to do the same thing, that you know, we want the other cities to go look at this as well, because that is something that's out there. I think it's probably the best low-hanging fruit that's there, and it's something with the pressures that Florida's facing, we're facing, it makes the most sense to me how to move quick.
Yeah.
So.
Commissioner, I have two more things.
Commissioner Stark.
Sorry. I want to show you a photo. And then, so this is Trouble Creek, and now if you could go to maps to show the satellite view of Trouble Creek and Little Road. This is a very heavily wooded area along Trouble Creek. We have a park right down the street called Eagle Point Park. It's across from Gulf Harbors. And this is one of two lots that we've actually, I saw this being cleared and I just forgot to call it in, and then an engineer, someone in the community saw it and called it in, because as soon as he saw there was no silt fences, he realized they probably didn't have a permit. So then our staff went out there, stopped them. They did clear cut both lots. So when you see this from the air, it's going to make you sick what they cut down. They filled in a class 1 wetland. They on the other side of 19. Can you make it so all the roads on in there? I don't know how you do your layers, but okay. So we were able to. Our attorney's office did a great job of, It's an area actually that I've been working with before Dan Biles even came, that we're trying to make a park out of, keep going a little to the west. And, okay, now up a little bit so you can see, down, sorry. Okay, so there. So all that area in there, someone has come in and clear cut. And
what were they doing there?
They said they were Duke. They throw. This is the second time this happened to me in my area. Oh, we work with Duke and we're staging for a hurricane preparedness. We would never let someone stage for a hurricane on a substandard road with a huge ditch like Trouble Creek, and that property is zoned residential. So we are in the process of, I think they did a stipulated agreement, and the gentleman who rented the property from the property owner is paying like $55,000 into our tree mitigation trust fund.
50,000, yeah.
Is that right?
50,000.
Okay,
yeah.
But here's the thing that's so bad, and I'll ask our attorney to give it. What's the fine for doing site prep without a permit?
So as with any of your violations, the maximum violation of an ordinance is $500. Now,
So
$500 a day, an incident, a tree, but it's capped at $500.
That's not enough. I can tell you being married, I can tell you that people will, it's gonna be catch me if you can, but if the fine is $500, I'm gonna clear my property without the permit and then ask for forgiveness. It's not okay. You know that guy the one up in the central Pasco employment area, he took out all his oak trees. I don't think he had to pay anything. Did he?
Can we make them plant the trees back?
I don't know what Swiftbud's coming in. He's going to get it from Swiftbud too, but I just think $500 for clearing your lot is not enough without a permit.
Well,
what else can we do?
So the problem is that state law under Chapter 125 caps the amount that you can penalize somebody under any ordinance you adopt. That's the problem.
We have a lobbyist sitting over there.
Per day or total?
I think we need a lobby.
Is that per day or total? Yeah.
No. So code can get creative and fine them per incident, per day, at $500 a piece. But the question that was asked is, what's the maximum fine you can levy? Maximum fine you can levy is $500. We can build it up.
About all that?
Because they're different violations. So in this case, we didn't, but you could have taken the position that each tree was a violation.
Why didn't we?
What they were cited for was not having a development permit on the 2 lots. So it was two $500.
I only showed you one lot, and I didn't show you the interior of what they took down.
Right.
But it was so sad. If there's some other way that we can also find somebody, or maybe we could say you can do no development on your property for 3 years, or, I mean, is there some other way to stop this?
Well, is
Because I keep
he
seeing
gonna
it
be able to
happen.
go ahead and put a staging area there?
No, we're not gonna let him.
So
She covers it.
so they have applied for a conditional use to use the property, which will be coming before either,
Oh,
is it planning commission or is it?
he's laughing.
There you go.
We
Ian
combine
was-
planning development. It's a special exception application, so it would be going for planning commission for final vote.
It's probably not gonna get approved, because that road is not, if you've driven on it, it's very narrow, it's got a very deep ditch on the side.
Yeah.
It's not suitable for construction trucks in a hurricane to be going in and out. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to think about. Should we make it more punitive if you start doing this stuff without permission? The second thing involves Port Ritchie. And if you could take that map and go up to the Pifla-Chascody River. I just learned of this in a meeting with our former House Speaker, actually, that one of our staff had a meeting with Port Ritchie. Okay, and zoom in a little bit. And so over there at Catches, by the bridge, you know, they bought the property, Jack, you'll know this, next door.
The
And
marina.
the marina, and they knocked it down. There is this road called, I think it's called Bridge Road. I think it's the old US 19, actually,
Yes.
Dixie Highway,
Yeah.
whatever. It goes to nothing. It separates the property that Catches has with the new property they bought. And the Lowe's family wanted to put dry storage there because there's a massive dry storage shortage along the coast. The closest one that I know south, it's past Tarpon, has a 2-year waiting list to get your boat in there. And so they wanted to do dry storage there, and Port Ritchie won't vacate that road. So they couldn't do it. And when they said, why won't you vacate the road? We don't want development. Well, if they don't want development, Jack, I don't want to work on that bridge that goes under, the path that goes under the bridge. Why would we be spending all our staff time and all this work that we do with them, and they don't want to improve their community? It's very frustrating to me to hear that. I've asked the county administrator to feel out their administrator to see if that's really true, that they don't want development, improvement like that.
When I looked at the new design for the new sidewalks that we're going to put in, and we talked about going alongside Catches along 19 to, make the golf path work, so it wasn't going to affect Catches property. It would go alongside it. And I said, if the city of Port Ritchie would work with you, and maybe that they're not going in there, and few people ever use that place as a park. If they would give that land up in exchange for working out, getting the land they need for the sidewalk, it'd be a good move for both. Between the administration that was been there before, and nothing ever took place on it.
Well, I think we need to point blank ask them. Do they want development improvement or not?
So we've had some initial contact with Port Ritchie, and I don't believe that they are anti-development in conversations with their city manager. So I don't believe that they are anti-development from what they have told us. I would say that regarding Bridge Street, which is the one that runs down to Catches, I think right now they're trying to determine before they were to relinquish what is a city asset or public land, is there a public purpose to it? So they're working through those types of things to determine if there's a public purpose for it, and that's kind of their position on it as it currently stands.
So with two wants that are out there, one, if Lowe's and the marina want to do dry storage there, we want to get the access to the land that we need to go along 19. Maybe this is a win-win. I haven't met with the new mayor yet, but we're scheduled, I think, coming up real soon to meet.
Please
so
ask.
I can bring that, and I'll try to bring the Lowe's in the conversation too.
All right. That's it for me.
Okay. Well, great. All right. I mean,
Commissioner,
great.
if you get a second, I'd like to add something.
You have
just
something as
after
well?
today. Can I have a Catherine Reed?
Second time around, here we go. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Carbella.
Actually, just a couple of things. I just want to address just some comments and things that were brought up today. With regards to Zephyr Hills municipalities and water systems, know that we have been trying to work with Zephyr Hills on selling an isolated system. I don't know if we've come to terms in terms of dollars and cents, but know that we obviously will work with all of our municipalities, and whether it's looking at service area boundaries to providing interconnects. Yes, disinfection is an issue in terms of what we get, but know that those relationships are good. So if there are issues, clearly we'll try our best to resolve them. The second thing, back to Commissioner Waitman, when we were talking about emergency action plans and looking at certain areas, know that traffic operations, we do look at operational improvements in a lot of areas, and in fact that's where you'll see some feedback here. I'm going to move the microphone. We're getting, there's a lot of, we'll make operational improvements in areas where necessary. So signals, there's warrants. Know that with the Caroline Drive project, for example, when they come in for site plan, there's access management standards. Organically, the transportation network increases. But I understand the frustration of folks want capacity now when it's built for when it's there. It's very expensive. And it happens organically over time, but that's why we have operational folks that go in and make those adjustments and tweaks to provide for safety. Believe me when I tell you that safety is paramount for these folks. The last thing that I wanted to mention, and it was kind of in the discussion with townhomes, know that our staff is listening to you. I think it's apparent when you see some of these projects that come up, while they may not have all of the components necessarily that the board are looking for at this moment in time, because we are evolving. We are in a state of evolution right now. Know that they are listening, and I think Mr. Tippin said it well. A lot of the changes and the levers that we pull today, we won't see for 365, a year and a half before these things start coming out of the ground. But I will ask, because Commissioner Waitman did mention a sense of urgency on things, and I would like some board guidance on this, because we have come back to the board on single-family build-to-rent. We talked about that and have developed policies that we've put in place. Our next to bring to you, and it'll probably be on the 23rd, is addressing 40 and 50-foot lots. So we are intending to come back to you and bring industry with us as well. After that, we've got horizontal apartments, which is a branch off of the build-to-rent, and now there's townhomes. So these are, I want to make sure that that's still the priority, and we can still work in that order, but these are the same people that are still having to work and approve all these MPUDs and working on this airplane while it's still flying. So I want to make sure that we're okay with that. And I've got planning workshops too, where I need your time. So I'm simply asking, are these your priorities? Are these in order? And are you comfortable being patient with us over the course of the next 6 to 9 months as we move through these methodically? Commissioner Stark.
So I would lump townhomes and 40-foot lots in the same category, because to me they're just about the same thing. And my issue with them is they just, and I will tell you, the last 2 people have come into my office and showed me 40-foot lots. I've said, I just can't approve a 40-foot lot anymore. Mm-hmm. And they did say, okay, they've been going through the process, and they're all ready to bring it to us, and they've been through staff and worked out all the things, and actually one of them we approved today. But I'm just not going to approve. I'm just not going to vote. Is that legal for me to say?
Well, no.
I don't want to vote for 40-foot front-loaded anything. Nothing.
If the commissioner believes that compatibility of 40-foot lots is not consistent with the area, she can vote against them.
Yeah, so I think we've got a good share of the Tampa Bay region's 40-foot lots, personally, already on the books.
A lot.
And so I know that a 50-foot lot might be a little more expensive, but we can't solve the world's problems in Pasco County. And as far as 40s, 50s, and townhomes, my issue with townhomes if they're front-loaded, which I don't like, is that they gotta have some vegetation in the front. And that's the same thing for a 40-foot and 50-foot or anything. And I think it was you that showed me a picture of a street in Asturias where you have houses on one side with street trees and houses across the street with none. And I'd love for you to show the board that picture because it tells 1,000 stories. That when you have a community without trees, it isn't a community that ages well or financially does well. But he's got the best example because one side of the street has them and the other side doesn't, and it's striking. So I don't know if you want to put townhomes in 40 and 50s all in the same group, but I'll leave it up to these guys.
My only response to that is that we've been working with industry on the 40s and 50s. We have not been working with them on the townhomes. Certainly planning can whip something up and bring it, but just know that, we tend to try to, work with folks, so it'll kind of be a little less coordinated, if you will, if we were to bring something to you on those lines.
Okay, Mr. Steinstein?
Jack?
I've said this before, but given the conversation, I'll say it again. You can develop regulations that outlaw 40-foot lots, for all intents and purposes, but you have to adopt those regulations. The problem that we have is doing things piecemeal from the dais on a project-by-project basis.
Yeah.
We're not treating everybody consistently.
Agreed.
So if you don't think the 40-foot lots are a product type that is conducive to development here, we can create regulations that outlaw them. You've got to, it's a broader conversation because as your res number in future land use gets higher and you want single family, the lots have got to get smaller. So if you're giving them a res 9 and it's still going to be single family, the only way you can utilize a res 9 with single family is narrower lots. So it's a bigger question than just lot type that is going to take some debate and understanding. But all of these issues that you see that you don't like, unless the legislature preempts you, you can adopt controls in your land development code.
Commissioner Oakley.
All right. The issue I want to bring up is we've already approved a lot of 40-foot lots throughout the county. And if I'm not mistaken, aren't those lots 40 and 50s used in VOPH?
Yeah.
You're not going to go in there now and take those away.
No.
They've got to have them.
Yeah.
So everything in VOPH in that area is going to have those clusters and areas where they have those lots. I did have a gentleman come to me the other day that had presented to us a 40 and 50-foot lot project that said he was moving that project to rear loaded, which I think is a better product of 40 and 50s and gives you more room and parking space for families and those kind of things. So that is coming in some of VOPAs because they just told me about it this last week. So we've got to do that. But anything new, I think we need to caution. We've got a lot of 40s and 50s coming. We probably don't need any more. But yeah, I really like for lots to be 60s and more, especially in your northeast rural areas. So be better.
Commissioner Starkey.
When you have places like VOPH or we have on our side coming Newport Corners, and you have a commercial node, which I don't want to be strip commercial, it's got to be like vertical mixed use commercial. You do density, you vary the density going out, but they have to have those special things around them to allow them for us to allow that kind of density to occur. VOPH is one of those places.
Right.
Newport Corners is one of those places. But anywhere in the county is not one of those places. You know, it's gotta be, because you're building a walkable community to some cool,
Right.
what's your word?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. And I did say too to the gentleman that, who I think is doing a great job so far, the one that's been buying up a lot of property in VOPH, I don't remember his name.
Glavin? Mike
Yeah,
Glavin?
he was showing all the commercial and he said, well, I'm not doing the commercial, I'm doing the residential. And I said to our staff in my meeting with him, please don't bring me regular strip commercial in a VOPH. I mean, that should be vertical mixed use, in my opinion. I'd give them more density if they put the shop, you know,
Right.
commercial, residential above and cool shops below. And, I mean, that's what you're seeing happen in St. Pete and Tampa and I was just in Winter Park. It's all over Winter Park with the shops below and residential above. And it was a great place to hang out. So we just need to improve our commercial as well, our entertainment areas.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I was at the Resilience Summit
Yeah.
this past week. It was great. A lot of good environmental stuff, a lot of constructive stuff. Mike, thanks for sending us down so many team members. While we were there, we got to talk to Ed Sherwood from the Estuary, get with him and Juanita and Alan and find out we got our first baffle box coming in Wesley Chapel at Lake Saxon. So it's going to be a nice thing. And I'll tell you, with the new Public Works person we have coming in with the experience he's got, I'm really excited about what he can get done for us. Had a meeting last night at Leisure Beach. We talked about the restoration project coming up for the canals. They're very excited about it. The paving assessment looks like that MSTU is going to be waiting till the following year as we work out details. And there was one of the projects just got a letter saying that they're going to start paving next week. It was El Sol Court. That was Hugh Townsend's property. What Hugh Townsend did the project was like a $5,000 or $6,000 project, and everyone voted against it, but we wanted to go for it.
Hunter's Ridge.
I think it was Hunter's
Yeah.
Ridge. So they didn't want to see it happen until we adopted. So I talked to Ainsley about it. He says, I can switch to another project. He's got like 5 other in the queue. And that was one talking to Hugh that we told him that in conversations, you'll be on the list and you'll go right away, but not until we adopt the other thing. He's comfortable waiting. I think his residents would be too, because they don't want to go through that assessment. They'd rather wait another year and get be under their other program.
Well, if I could, since it's that's an approved PVAS, which
Right.
we've been directed to do, and it falls. So, I mean, I'm fine pausing for the construction, but it's still on the schedule. Can I get some board vote or direction that?
Let me
because
clarify.
that becomes
for
a
what
slippery slope, in my opinion.
Let me just clarify. What we said to the people that were going to be in the queue is we're pausing everything until we adopted the MSTU. Right? We weren't, because we're going to get it adopted before we did any projects. Now, this is one project that didn't want to see it happen because of the high cost for the seniors, so
Well,
they want to be
a
paused.
lot of them didn't want it to happen.
A lot of them didn't, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are more reasonably priced than this one here.
Well, I think that anyone who is, and I've talked to you about this, anyone who is getting their PVAS done this year as we're in transition, in my opinion, and I know you were going to bring this back to the board, it should be phased out, that they shouldn't continue on paying that whole thing. And because it's not fair for someone to pay 100% PVAS when everyone else is paying $200. So it seems to me there should be a way that we taper off their payments to where they're equal to everyone else. And even someone who just finished paying their PVAS should maybe get a credit for a year or something. We have to be fair to everybody, I think, as we go into this transition from one to the other.
I think they are.
Yes.
Go ahead, Bradford.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Yeah.
So,
Your name?
Yes. When we came before you.
No.
What did you say?
No,
Bradford.
for the record, just for the recording, your name.
Okay, Bradford Adumwa, Assistant County Administrator.
Yeah.
Royalty.
Where's my girl? Yes, okay. All right, so when we came before you with the MSTU, you asked us for the PVAS to continue, the ones that you've already approved until we run out of money. So that is what we've been doing, okay? Now, with this particular PVAS, the direction came to you, you said we should continue. If you don't want us to continue, the work hasn't started yet, it's on the schedule. We can bring an agenda back to you to say, tell us not to do it, all right? And then we are going to stop that. And something I'd like to say is regarding the MSTU, the whole idea, some discussions that we've had, is to, if the MSTU is approved, is to exclude the active, what we call the active PVAS. Okay, so the ones that we are going to be paving now, you know, on the PVAS was the direction that you gave us to continue doing until we run out of money. So any that you don't want us to do.
But what do you need to be more clear? What do you mean by exclude?
Okay, the exclude means that if the MST is approved, you have people who are actively on the PVAS, they will see 2 payments on their tax bill, right? And the discussions that we've had, one-on-ones, was the suggestion was to exclude those. That means that they are going to see only an MSTU on their bill.
I don't want to see that happen. I would like to see them pay maybe the first year and then say half the next year and then regular the next year. There has to be a tapering down.
So those discussions we'll be having with you, how we do that.
He said he would bring that back and hash that out.
Yeah, it's just an idea we passed by you, but we'll come back if you want to look at it differently. We'll have that discussion when we come back with you.
It's like someone who had their PVAS done this year, and then they start paying the $200 next year. No, I think they should get an amnesty for a year or something.
Sure. Well, you know, one of the complications is we do allow people to pay their PVASs completely in advance.
Yeah.
And so whatever the policy recommendation ultimately is, we are striving for equity on that. But I think Mr. Ademois' point here at this point is that the board's direction was to continue with those PVASs till we ran out of money. I got no issue pausing this one and letting a few others jump ahead of it, but we would like the board to essentially rescind that PVAS then if you really want us to stop or stop everything.
I don't stop one and not all.
Correct.
I just want to stop this one particular
I
one.
don't think you can do that.
I think we need to bring something back to you to vote on.
They've got who doesn't?
Hang on, Commissioner. There's like a bunch of other projects that can go, they said right away. So all this would do is just puts us back in the list until we figure out what we want to go do. So move it back 5 in the list?
But they would still have to pay their PVAS, because that's what we voted on.
Not until we do it.
They haven't laid asphalt
No,
on this project.
they haven't done anything on the project yet.
They haven't
started the
commenced
project
this
yet.
I don't know, but that just doesn't seem fair to me to do it to one and not to all.
So the one the commissioner is talking about is, I believe, like a 5-lot PVAS.
That's like $5,000 a piece or
Yeah,
$6,000 a piece. Little seniors.
Cul-de-sac. And so I think it's legitimate. You could say there are others that would benefit more people that are on the list.
If you think we can say that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but we'll have to bring an agenda back to you.
Again, it's just, well, you got to make a decision. No, we got to make a decision today because they're ready to go next week. So you don't have time. We got to make a decision today.
No, but I think
all it is just moving them back in the list until we decide what we want to do. Commissioner Waitman.
Y'all know better than we do. Comfortable with the chair and Commissioner Starkey won't, but for the sake of this, I think we should probably bring an agenda item and do it in a more formal way, just to be safe.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah, because you authorize us through an agenda item to proceed. So we've done this before. We'll bring an agenda back to you, and then we're going to say discontinue that or pause that, however you want to word it.
I mean, you guys make the decision what projects you do anyway. Like, could be like Little Road, could be this project here. You guys make that call which ones you're doing as you're doing it. This is just one that if you just move this one back until you bring something back and get another one going.
Commissioner, what my concern is that we start changing the order and then I'm going to have other communities wanting to change the order and be put in the back of the line. Pretty soon everybody's in the back of the line and no one's in the front of the line. So I would rather that the board officially vote to either suspend, discontinue, whatever the recommendation is for this particular PVAS, which, point well taken. I just need I would like some formality to it, just to
If there's only
avoid.
5 houses, I'm okay with suspending it.
We'll bring something back if that's okay.
And then
There's people
Okay,
waiting
but-
on their PVAS.
But are you going to get started next week on it, and then?
We can suspend
That.
We've got plenty, we've got some others, and
Okay.
we'll
Yes.
tweak it, but
That's
we'll
all I'm
bring
looking
something
for.
back.
Perfect. Okay, sir.
construction hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
Just one
Mr.
statement
Oakley.
that you gotta realize that there's people been waiting on their PVAS and they've been held up, and they're ready to do their PVAS. So I think they've got a way that they can do their PVAS, start they pay it over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody pays it off right
Right.
away. But whatever would be normal for them to pay on the new system, that's part, they'll pay just like everybody else, but you gotta move from one to the other and make it a very transitional move to where it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right, and we'll discuss that, we'll make a plan as we go. We
Yeah,
just-
we need a plan.
Bring an agenda
Okay.
back.
They're gonna work on making it fair, I guarantee.
Okay. All right, Joanna, do you have a picture for me up there? Sonia would have sent a yes. All right, well, that's coming up. I'll talk about something else. I met with the folks at Shady Hills, and a couple of big concerns come up. One of them is with so many jobs coming in. They're worried about not having a trail running alongside Shady Hills Road. I know we're talking about it going forward with it. One of the things I talked about with them, I think I mentioned it, I'm just going to cover it again, as Pastor Jen is out here in the audience, that we talked about looking at whether we use our trail money or economic development money. I don't want to slow down an industrial project from coming in or land use change from that happening to get jobs coming. But at the same time, we got to catch up in the infrastructure. So this could be a road that's scheduled for 10 years down the road. We can't wait 10 years. We need improvements sooner.
But I got that going on in Trinity
But the
too.
problem,
I mean,
the
that's what I
problem
just
you've
said
got
today.
is if you take that money, you're gonna take it away from other projects
I
that are coming online.
So I think this comes back
Oh,
to
yeah,
Kath. to-
I'm just saying. But when we passed the economic development incentive, one of the things I asked for was we could take the money and use it for that. One of the things we did when we put the penny for Pasco in, all the money was set up for trails. So this is a high priority project to make sure we're gonna bring in a lot of jobs, create that window, you've got a venue to use the funding for it.
Yeah, what I'd like you to do is ask that they bring it back to us on what we can do the right way that doesn't hurt other projects.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we
You know
have
what I'm
to,
saying? So-
That's good, and again,
Yeah.
I had the meeting with the
And
people,
we're
I'm relaying,
addressing it.
and I'm
I
relaying this
understand.
to you, so here
Yeah.
we go. Another thing, they have formed their association, they made a vote, I had sent it out to staff, I didn't hear anything back from staff, so being that she's waited here all day long, she would probably want to hear something about it, about their civic association they want to get back. And we've got to do that within 90 days of December, but I think it's a conversation that should start sooner than later. If you would, Mike, get that addressed.
So which,
Shady Hills
Shady Hills,
Civic Association.
we approve, okay. I'll have
Okay.
we'll reach out to you for details.
Okay. Got a call from somebody, there's a veteran pinning ceremony coming up. Not sure exactly everybody that's going to go there. They just announced this to me today. I says, well, if you send me a flyer, I'll invite all the commissioners there if you guys want to participate. I've given you the flyer. They've got a major general coming, a colonel, which, by the way, this is the Women's Military, I think, Day, Women's Veterans Day. So if you want to participate, it should be a nice ceremony. They do nice things down there, so it could be a good thing for you. And the last thing I was going to do was show a picture of a flyer that I saw or an email that I got about Trader Joe's. They're bringing a fourth one to the region. However, it's not in Pasco County. So I was going to let you see the flyer first. However, so in light of that, after we had some conversations today, what would the board think if we set up a letter to Trader Joe's sending that saying, we would really like you to consider Pasco County in the near future.
Only if it's on the west side. I'm just kidding.
All right.
Central location?
No.
Equal opportunity player.
Yeah, well, we know it's
No,
going to go in the
I think
southern
that's fine.
region somewhere, but anywhere is a good place.
I know they have communities that do like sign-ups and.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've sent things on my own, but I want to do it at this point. When I saw that flyer, I said, oh, someone's sending me some really good news, and I go, oh, not what I wanted to hear. So, would the board be okay if we send a letter?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Anything else for the board?
Does everybody know that, very sadly,
Are we good on, we
Congressman
have to make a vote on
Bill
that
lost
letter?
his only sibling last week. An unexpected heart attack. 61 years old, so be
Life is-
sure and send him
Yeah.
your condolences, and it's very, very sad.
Life is precious, and I'll say, I went to the Tabernacle. They had a Korean group that was there praying for Pasco County that Pastor Leonard Lord came to us about. And while we were there, I asked him to pray for Commissioner Bradford. And they said, well, I want to pray for us.
Yeah,
So I said, let's
that's
focus
right.
on him. All right, anything else for the good of the board? All right, we're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Will Ralph be giving us his update next?
And wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.